DM Investments. Chairman Henry Neal has been missing for a year after allegedly embezzling vast sums of money and investors from the company. Some believe the chairman has fled abroad, and victims who lost various amounts of money are demanding justice. The police had to turn to an international search for help. This fool won't be able to do anything to Henry. Smart people like him deserve a lot of money, and fools have no business whining about being cheated. At night, Henry wakes up from someone calling him. This someone is sitting right in front of him. Apparently, Henry enjoys stealing money and sailing on a luxury yacht after doing his dirty work. He doesn't recognize the visitor. He is disappointed that Henry has already forgotten his voice. This is Director Kim Han-yeon. He is here to collect a loan debt from the Taesin Company. Henry calls security, but there is no one to come to his call. Kim has no intention of dragging him back to Korea. He just wants the company's money. Henry owes 470 billion and 29 million won. In dollars, this is about 358 million. Henry insists that he has no money. He only managed to buy a yacht and sailed away with nothing. Kim can take the yacht, that's all. A chain hangs from the side of the yacht into the water. Kim tells him to lift it. Henry was lowered into the water by a chain. Kim is known to have laundered over 200 billion won through a shell company in Malta and another 150 billion through a company in Virginia. Henry keeps insisting that he has no money and that this yacht is his only asset. Another 120 billion in Switzerland? That's enough to pay off 470 billion. Henry can transfer money using his laptop, but he needs them. Those who will soon become shark food have no need for money. Henry would rather die than live without this money. He agrees to pay off the principal debt of 150 billion. Kim will continue to receive interest. Investors don't care where to spend their money. Kim orders Henry to be thrown overboard. If he dies, there will be no money. That may be true, but it will teach a valuable lesson to anyone who might try to embezzle from Taesin. However, Kim eventually brought Henry back on board. $350 million have been successfully transferred. Henry worked his ass off, and Kim just took him for a ride. The director is sailing away. Then another ship appears. This is the Philippine Coast Guard. Henry is under arrest at the request of Interpol. Kim did a great job. He just did his job. He managed to find a man who had traveled almost the entire world on his yacht, and even collected the debt from him with interest. Thanks to Kim, the company avoided significant losses. In their time, one can only rely on him. Plus, their family Kim, the director of the company, Tae-sung, Tyler Lang, the chairman of the company, and Harry Lang, the vice chairman. They are the heirs of Tae-sung Lane. Kim's maternal grandfather was credit industry legend Dae-sung Liang. Even the elite respected him. They bowed their heads before the richest man in South Korea. He was even nicknamed the king of usurers. He had trillions of won in his hands, but he did not leave anything to Kim. All the assets were inherited by his brothers, Tyler Lan and Harry Lan, as well as their children. Tyler asks how John is doing. He should have already found Director Yoon, who embezzled the construction money. John, after hesitating, says that he will find him soon. The last time he missed it was because he was high. John Lane, Tyler's son, is a good-for-nothing, greedy for money and drugs, but he is the heir. Tyler feels ashamed of himself in front of Kim. He works very hard and deserves a rest. 30 years ago, Kim went out of his way to be accepted into this family. He did all the dirty work that was assigned to him, but in the end, he was not even included in the inheritance. Kim receives a reminder about his grandmother's funeral. She was the only one who looked after him after his parents died. Kim walks into the store. When he leaves, he receives a call that Director Yoon has been found, and Tyler has ordered his immediate capture. He ordered Kim to be involved in this. He says he's already on his way. He arrives at the scene and reports it. Here he discovers that a gang is waiting for him. They surround him. Kim asks what this all means. A car appears and drives straight towards him. She hits Kim and crashes into his car. Kim rises to her feet. He dodges the blow of the bat. He even manages to knock down the attacker. Kim is being attacked from another side. He knocks the bandit to the ground. But there are too many of them for Kim to handle alone. As a result, he is stunned. He soon finds himself tied up in his car, and they are going to throw it into the water. This was done by Pak Sang-gi, Kim's subordinate, who helped him capture Henry Neal. Pak says he is following orders. Kim asks who ordered him to do this. It doesn't matter. Kim himself knows that people like Pak are just servants who do what they are told. The car is thrown into the water. So this is how Kim will die, for his faithful service to the Lan family. He was just used. Bottles of drinks that Kim bought for his grandmother's funeral emerge from the bag. He promised to remember her every year, but now he would go straight to her. Kim sees the light. It turns out it's just the sun. Kim is lying in the water on the shore. He stands up, wondering what happened. Then someone kicks him back into the water. Some guys are beating each other up. Apparently, even in heaven, there is complete chaos. Kim knocks down another guy who wants to attack him. His body is so light, as if he had become younger. Someone is attacking him again. Kim kicks one in the stomach, and then he finishes off the other one. Someone else tries to fight Kim, but is also defeated. Someone still manages to knock Kim to the ground. Some big guy, apparently considered the strongest, approaches him. Kim dodges his punch. The big guy falls. Those beaten by Kim want to attack him again, but his look makes it clear that this is a bad idea. The boys run away. A schoolboy appears, this time in a friendly mood. He offers Kim a smoke. This is Matthew Lee, his friend from high school. As expected, Kim gave them a good beating. And this is Paul Henson, also a good friend from school. His dad is a policeman, so their asses will be covered even if they do something wrong. Kim asks where they are. This is Kwangali. Kim started speaking in Seoul dialect and asking where they were, as if the pumpkin had cracked but looked unharmed. Kim asks what date it is today and what year it is. Today is the 21st of September, 1990. Kim was definitely thrown into the sea, but somehow he returned 30 years into the past. Suddenly he starts running. He remembered that his grandmother died on that day. She had a heart attack. Kim was told that if she had been found even a little earlier, she would not have died. Kim runs into the house and calls her. Grandma is not here. Then Kim hears someone's voice. The landlady demands rent. The grandmother promises that she will definitely pay next month. She has been having money problems lately. This does not concern the hostess. If the payment is not made next week, she will throw the grandmother and her grandson out on the street. Grandma sees Kim. He is early today. He remembers happy moments from his childhood. Kim starts to cry. He missed his grandmother very much. He was always so sweet, whether he was smiling or in tears. Kim wants her grandmother to go to the hospital. She needs to be examined. But she feels fine. We must hurry. She might die. Only after Kim gets married and raises children. He can go to his room and she will cook something to eat. Lunch is ready. Kim will eat anything. It's his favorite food. Grandma also has corn juice. For so long, all Kim wanted was her humble lunch. The sound of a falling bottle reaches him. Grandma is lying on the floor. She was taken to the hospital. If Kim had been even a second late, everything would have ended badly. There is no way to avoid surgery. Grandma might become ill again if we leave things as they are. Matthew and Paul appear. Kim was not at home. They found out that his grandmother was in the hospital and came. He is asked to pay for medical expenses. Since he has insurance, it will cost 1,400,000 won. Kim has no phone or money. Just recently he was counting billions, and now he only has this. Matthew will pay for Kim. His father owns a large adult entertainment establishment. There is no need to return anything. This is for the health of Kim's grandmother. She has prepared food for them worth tens of thousands of won over the entire time. The doctor said the operation would cost at least 10 million won. Not long ago, this would have been small change, but now Kim only has a couple of coins. But there is a way. This is his only chance. Kim asks to leave a message for Taesong Lane. His daughter Megan's son, Kim Hanyeon, wants to see his grandfather. There were no skyscrapers in 1990, and that's exactly how Kim remembers Busan. So he really did go back to the past, and he will be killed again in 30 years. Kim suspects Chairman Tyler Lan, only he could force Kim's subordinates to get rid of their boss. But he seemed to be very useful to Tyler. Then it could have been Harry Lane or John Lane. In any case, Kim has a chance to settle scores with his family. Suddenly, a suspicious-looking patient calls him. This patient asks his name. It's none of his business. Cheeky little one. Usually they introduce themselves first and then ask for their name. He's Dan Soo. Kim should know about him. He actually knows. He is the deputy leader of the Sasan gang, which controls the Jang district in Busan. In just 5 years in the gang, this guy rose to the position of leader. But around this time, the active fight against crime will begin. Dan will be blamed for the boss's crimes, after which the cops will be on his tail and his mutilated body will be found in a motel. He probably runs a comic book store. It looks like Kim is that good boy from room 405. The whole hospital is buzzing about him, saying he's a good boy who takes care of his granny. It's natural, she's his family. Judging by the uniform, Kim is from Dongsan School. Here, Kim suggests that Dan is a bandit. It just looks like he was beaten up really badly. There will always be fights in a man's life, and little kids like Kim might not realize it. But life will put everything in its place. Kim doesn't seem to be afraid of Dan at all. If that's all, he'll go. Dan's gang isn't that big yet, but you can't call it small either. Maybe one day this guy will be useful to Kim. Returning to his grandmother's room, he meets some man there. This is Director Gray. Kim suggests talking elsewhere. Michael Gray works for Chairman Tae-sung Lane. He is grandfather's right hand, his confidant, whom he trusted until his death. At his grandmother's funeral, it was Michael who told Kim that Tae-sung was his mother's father. Michael says that he should go with him to Seoul, but Kim asks why the chairman didn't come himself. It's hard to believe that a teenager can have such a cold look. It's unlikely he's bluffing, it's too natural. The chairman is a busy man. He doesn't have time for personal meetings. Kim personally doesn't need a meeting with him, but he has never come to his daughter's grave. If he wants to talk to Kim, let him go to the cemetery to see his mother first. In his past life, Kim had no choice but to do as he was told, as he was just a penniless orphan. Michael said they would cover the funeral expenses and that Kim should move to Seoul to be with the chairman. He asked me to convey that if Kim obeyed, he would not have to worry about survival. Without his grandfather's help, he wouldn't even have finished school. But this time it's different. Kim knows his weak points. Tae-sung will have to come in person if he wants to see his grandson. Kim gave off such a powerful aura that Michael even became nervous. According to the information, he is just a difficult teenager who is always fighting. Perhaps this is false information. He doesn't look like an ordinary child at all. Kim tells his grandmother that the chairman has summoned him to Seoul, but first he must visit his daughter's grave. She died 17 years ago, and he has never been to her ashes. Kim himself called him on the phone that his grandmother had hidden from him. He better behave himself in front of the chairman. Kim has no interest in him, considering he ignored them for 17 years. Grandma should think about her health. As long as Kim has her, he doesn't need anyone else. She loved him more than anyone. In his past life, Kim lost her too suddenly, but this time he will make her happy. Michael relays Kim's words to Taesun. He is a brave fellow, or just reckless. He definitely caught Taeseon's attention. He flies to Busan to see Kim. If he proves useful, Tae-sung will make him work himself to the bone for the good of his family. Kim comes to class. Matthew asks about his grandmother. Kim says she has already been discharged. He hasn't come to class for a long time. He might as well leave and go play billiards. Since Kim hasn't been to class for a long time, he should probably study for the sake of appearances. He opened the book and began studying, even though the end of the world was still 9 years away. In high school, Kim didn't care about studying at all. He only started studying after meeting his grandfather. He said that from now on, he would have only one goal, Korea Law University. Although if you look at his successes, he doesn't have the slightest chance. If he fails, it will be all over between the Leng family and him. To survive and gain his grandfather's recognition, Kim had to enroll in the Korea Law University. He studied like crazy to get accepted, and after that he started working for his grandfather. But he was only ruthlessly used for the benefit of the Len family. This time, everything will be different. The teacher appears. He calls Kim. He has been skipping classes for several days now, as if school is a place where you go on a whim. Kim had to take care of his grandmother. The teacher starts to beat him. He doesn't believe that someone like Kim can care about anyone but herself. The teacher tells him to lie down on the floor. Kim remembered that this was the first-year class teacher, nicknamed Chained Dog. They called him that because he pounces on his students like a real guard dog. There is another reason why he treats Kim this way. He openly extorted a bribe from his grandmother when he came to them before the start of the school year. But Kim didn't let her pay him the 10,000 won she had worked so hard to earn. The teacher knows that Kim is hanging around the area causing fights. There is only one path for scum like him, to become bandits. Then the deputy director enters the class. He needs Kim Han-yeon. A luxury car came to pick him up. Michael Gray opened the door for him. Tae-sung Len was sitting in the car. The last time Kim saw him was the day before his death, about 20 years ago. Kim asks if he visited his mother's grave. Tae-sung says he was there. Kim heard that he had never visited her, so it was only right that he should go to her first and then see his grandson. Kim's grandmother, who takes care of him, is not feeling well, so he can't leave her here alone. It's obvious, and he's not going to apologize. This puppy is not afraid of Taesun at all. He asks if Kim knows who he is. Tae-sung Leung, a legend in private lending, arrived in the South during the war, started out as a hired hand, and then rose through political and economic circles. In those days, there was not a single person, be it a politician or simply a rich person, who did not take loans from him. Even now, he rules the country through the underground, turning over trillions of won. Kim knows that Tae-sung has his own business. Tae-sung asks why he wanted to see him. Kim only wants one thing from him, something that can crush even the Leng family, money. Kim wants to get his hands on the entire colossal sum they inherited after Tae-sung's death. You will need your own means to fight them, and it is desirable that they do not suspect anything. Kim asks to lend him money. Tae-sung asks how much. Kim's grandmother, who raised him, needs heart surgery, which costs at least 10 million won. Kim would also like to receive 1 million a month. This is for expenses on education and living. He's spineless after all. He made Taesun go all this way for such a paltry amount. Kim asks to lend him money, not to give it to him for free. He is not even able to return the principal payment, but speaks as if he will work off all the expenses. Lending money is exactly what moneylenders do, but no moneylender would lend money to just anyone. Kim must show that he is capable of getting them back. If Tae-sung gives him money, he will enter Korea Law University and pay off his debts. In his past life, Tae-sung himself asked him to do this. All his life, he longed for academic success. But due to poverty, he was unable to obtain an education. He became obsessed with the idea of showing off the academic achievements of at least his children. But his sons entered with difficulty, and not without the help of money. As for Kim's mother, she entered a prestigious university in Seoul, but also let Tae-sung down by dropping out. So his grandson's desire to enter a Korean law university will sound very tempting to him. Tae-sung asks why Kim is so confident that he can handle it. If he doesn't succeed, he is ready to say goodbye to his brain and the rest of his body. And if he gets in, he would like to receive a reward. He will tell you about this after admission. Tae-sung can't wait to find out what Kim wanted. But if it fails, it will belong to him. And you will have to do everything he says, something that will make even your friends run away from him in fear. Tae-sung is leaving. This old fart decided to intimidate the child. Kim will pretend to be his friend if that's what he wants, and then tear his stinking family to pieces. Michael is surprised that Kim is so different from what the reports say. In business, Tae-sung has met all kinds of people. Those who did not pay their bills, brazenly demanding even more. Those who hired bandits to settle accounts with Taesun. Some threatened to commit harakiri, and there were also those who were ready to sell their own child. When you move in such circles for a long time, you begin to understand at first glance who is who. But I'm not sure about Kim Tae-sung. It feels like he was the one evaluating him. It seems like Tae-sung liked him. He asks to be taken to the district hospital. Don't worry so much. This operation is not complicated. Kim walks down the hospital corridor. Dan calls out to him. He suggests smoking on the roof. Kim says he is busy with his studies. While he is young, he must enjoy life. However, if he himself wants to study, Dan will not dissuade him. If you start to feel sleepy, this will help you wake up. Dan is the second in command of a gang of several hundred thugs, but he's quite a sweetheart at heart. However, he doesn't have long left. Here, Kim notices people getting out of the car. These are clearly bandits. Dan wasn't supposed to die today. It seems that Kim will still be able to win him over to her side. The nurse at the reception desk is asked which room Dan-soo is in. The nurse asks who the visitors are to him. The bandit says they visit him. Apparently, they're looking for Dan. Kim will take them to him. These idiots don't dare start a showdown in the hospital where Grandma's being operated on. Kim brings the bandits to the backyard. He knows they came for Dan's soul. One of the bandits takes out a knife. Kim is ready to fight. Then Dan's voice is heard asking what they are doing here. They apparently have nothing sacred since they swing a knife at a schoolboy. The bandit attacks Dan. He strikes. However, his fist hit Dan's head as if it were something much harder. Dan was not harmed at all by this, unlike by the bandit's hand. Now Dan knocks him down and throws it to the ground. Dan then takes off his shirt, making it clear that he is ready to fight. A bandit with a knife attacks him. Dan hits him. He falls. Dan picks it up and throws it at another bandit. Then he throws a slipper at him and deals the decisive blow. There is one bandit left who is still standing on his feet. He notices window frames with glass standing against the wall. The bandit grabs one, intending to hit Dan with it. But he gets ahead of him. The last bandit is ready too. It's nice to stretch my legs after a while. Dan already kicked this idiot around during the battle for territory. He knew they would show up here. Kim is so cheeky, he wasn't even afraid of a knife. He just knew Dan would come. It was obvious his guys were everywhere. In any case, Dan owes him. Kim can say whatever she wants. He will arrange everything. Dan is the first tool in his plan. Kim must get his hands on him. Dan needs to take his closest subordinates and lie low for 3 months. The president is about to declare a war on crime with nationwide crackdowns coming. In October 1990, the president issued a special decree to win the people's favor by shifting their attention away from the corrupt political regime. A large-scale operation to eradicate organized crime will be launched. Dan must find a suitable location and keep it a secret even from his gang members, especially from the boss. If he survives, he will serve Kim well. The war on crime was declared on October 13th. The police and prosecutors are keeping us on our toes. They've rounded up all the big shots in Busan. Therefore, we must sit quietly and let them not dare to stick their necks out. Everything turned out exactly as Kim said. Dan thought he was talking nonsense and would still have wanted a political union with Germany. He said that Germany itself would declare it to them. And now Dan read about it in the newspaper. Taesong Lang was always quick to resolve anything. And now he has rented an apartment for Kim and his grandmother. He will pay the expenses so that Grandma won't have to work anymore. She's suffered so much while raising Kim alone, she deserves even more than this. Kim will provide her with a comfortable life. For now, let her only worry about her own health. Matthew and Paul came to congratulate her on her discharge. They took some chicken breast. They need to fry it and eat it until they are full. The weather is fine. The only thing that mars the day is that today they will announce the test scores. There's nothing to laugh about. Paul's grades are probably no better. He's always been a better student. At least he's in 500th place out of 520 students. Kim thinks he did well with the test, although it could have been better. It was a bit difficult to return to school after such a long break, but he managed. He came first in the exam he passed. His class teacher calls him. Matthew thinks he will be given a reward. In the office, the teacher starts hitting Kim. He thinks he cheated on the exam. He spent the entire first semester hanging around at the very bottom of the table, but now he has suddenly shot up to first place. It looks like Chain Dog started this because of what happened a couple of days ago. He saw Taesong arriving in a foreign car and said that he should come and say hello to his grandson's teacher. The damn Chain Dog just doesn't know how to behave like a human being. Kim said that his grandfather was from Seoul, and if the teacher wanted to meet him, he should go there. Kim didn't cheat. The teacher let his antics slide. But now he's aiming for exams, apparently. His grandmother teaches him this. This bastard is already crossing the line. He should apologize. It doesn't matter whether Kim himself did it or cheated. It has nothing to do with his grandmother. There's no point in thinking about it. The teacher will reset his results for cheating. He is suspended from classes for an indefinite period. Then Kim suggests a bet. Now he will answer the test questions in front of the teacher. If he doesn't get the same scores, he will drop out of school. But if he succeeds, the teacher will resign. The Chain Dog swings a bat. He seems to be unsure of himself. Kim demands to give him a test. He completes assignments in the presence of teachers. Almost all subjects receive top marks. If Kim gets a perfect score in English, he will have the highest score in all subjects. Then Teacher Smith will leave the school forever. If he breaks his word and stays, Kim will no longer treat him as a teacher. But if he apologizes, Kim will stop solving the test. Enough. He proved that he didn't cheat. Teacher Smith just needs to apologize and praise his student for bringing his grades up. Smith apologizes. He misunderstood. Kim went back to class. Now he is in first place in the table. That asshole Smith was completely twisted. Matthew should also start training seriously. Kim will help him, and Paul should return to judo. Then he will enroll on a sports scholarship. Matthew was a good student in high school, but he only got into this school because his crush went to this school. Paul was a gifted judoka in high school, but he didn't want to leave Kim and Matthew, so he enrolled here. Matthew might just run his dad's nightclub, and Paul is thinking about working in a factory. Kim plans to take on important matters in Seoul in the near future, but it will be difficult for him to do so alone. He is counting on them. They need to work together and get to Seoul. Even knowing the future, he cannot take revenge alone. Kim continued to study hard and took first place in the final exams. Matthew's grades left much to be desired, but he still had a good result. And Paul returned to training. Kim is here again, at the luxurious mansion of the Lan family. The impregnable fortress of the king of usurers managed to protect his wealth from all threats. There was no such development of events in the past life. Then Kim first met Taesong after entering university. This means that Kim's value in his eyes has changed. Taesong heard that he had placed first in 2 consecutive exam sessions. His school may not be the best, but now Taesong is confident that he has the brains. Since Kim knows how to keep his promises, he would like to reward him. Kim will let him know what she wants when she enters university. Taesong asks if he wants something right now. Since you've decided to play the kind grandfather, you need to ask for benefits. Kim would like a stake in the company. He has a basic understanding of the capital market, which is why he is asking for exactly that. Kim asks which company would be best if he were to buy something. Taesung asks him to tell him the current rate for Dahyun's company. As far as Michael knows, the rate is 4%. Taesung tells him to put it in Kim's name, and since it's a gift to his grandson, he needs to make sure all taxes are paid. Now Dahyun is the undisputed leader, recognized even by the elite. But after the death of the founder, it was divided as a result of a conflict between the heirs. Getting a share in Dahyun's company is not easy, even if you are rich. Kim thought that Taesung would just give him some money, and that he was very lucky to have grabbed such a big catch. Tyler Lan and Harry Lan appear. These were the people Kim had been looking forward to meeting. It was they who gave the order to get rid of Kim. They are the most likely suspects, but he is not sure. Tyler heard that Kim grew up in difficult circumstances after the death of his mother, and he is glad to see the family reunited. Taesung heard rumors that Samson Corporation was going through hard times. The media, as always, loves to distort the facts, as Cheryl's father-in-law, Taeseun, should know this. They can always count on his help. Their families are connected, so he will not leave them. John's father-in-law is doing well and is currently actively pursuing a career in politics. He can always turn to Taesung for funds. He doesn't have to get into trouble for money. Taesung asks if any of them gave money to President Stanley Harper. That's not how he taught them to handle finances. He should have forced Stanley to come to them and ask for money. But Taesung knows who is behind him. If they do this, Chungpung will not remain idle. This is Kim's mother's room. She is exactly the same as he remembered her. Kim takes out a book. There is a photograph inside. This is the only photo of his mother that Kim could find. The grandfather did not leave anymore, as if he wanted everyone to forget about his daughter. Someone enters the room. This is John Lane. This wretchedness is here too. Kim suspects him most of all. In John's eyes, he is a thorn in his side, who is laying claim to his inheritance. It must be difficult to adapt after moving from the provinces to the capital. Kim asks who he is. There's no need to be rude. John is older than him, and the simpletons from Busan probably don't have any manners at all. He's still the same, just amazing consistency. It doesn't matter that he is older. He himself began to speak informally with Kim. Apparently, this was the first time he had been shown open hostility. His father is the eldest heir to the king of moneylenders, and his mother is the eldest daughter of the chairman of the Samson Company, whose business is ranked 5th in the world. No one would dare to treat him disrespectfully. John doesn't know why Kim is here, but he doesn't belong in their house. Hundreds of millions should be enough for him to disappear into thin air in a place like Busan. With that kind of money, Kim would pass for rich. John even speaks in the same phrases as he did then. As expected from a stepbrother, he is so generous. But hundreds of millions are barely enough for a day. At the market, you can only buy a plate of seafood for that money. It's no wonder Kim was left without parents. Looking at him, it becomes clear why his poor grandmother is in such a state. Kim punches the wall next to John, now a simpleton from Busan, who is bad at explaining things in words because he is homeless, will explain something in plain language. He won't get away with treating a member of the Leng family like that. John will tell his grandfather everything right now. Let him tell it. John Lane, the reckless heir to the Samson Company, fell so in love with drugs that he had to turn to smugglers. Kim also knows about the other idiots with whom John recently got so drunk at the hotel that the girls had to be taken to the hospital. He acts like a child. These incidents are nothing compared to what John will do in the future. If he wants to be treated like an elder, let him behave like one. Now let him go. Kim is tired today. If he dares to blab, one of them is dead. Kim asks whether this should be taken as a request or a threat. This is a request. Then he will keep his mouth shut. John leaves. It's hard to believe that Kim lost his life because of such a worthless person. The next morning, he comes down the stairs. He needs to go. He will visit his grandfather again. Soon, Michael gives Kim 100 million. This is a gift from the chairman. He believes that Da-hyun's shares were not enough. The password is the date of Kim's mother's untimely death. It turns out that Taesung is meticulous when it comes to promises. Michael is sure he expects Kim to call and thank him. He's now in his 2nd year and they're in different classes, but Matthew still trains hard and Paul is fully committed to judo. Each one tries in their own way to fulfill their promise and enter Seoul University. True, now another guy has appeared. They have a transfer student from Seoul, Jamie Naiman, a new breed of monster among the psychos. He asked who was in charge at this school. Officially, there is no such thing, but if you have to name someone, it would probably be Kim Han-yeon. He's a sophomore, a really strong guy. Last year, senior students gathered everyone who showed potential. They told him to go with them, but he was still sleeping. Kim stood up. One of the guys flew to the floor. In the end, Kim dealt with everyone, and he sat down at his desk again. He said he would take another nap. After that incident, the senior students don't bother him, but now he doesn't care about anything except his studies. An upstart, but beating up people like him is just more fun. It's better not to provoke things without a reason. Even if you fight well, it doesn't mean you always win, but he and Jamie didn't win because they lost to him. They are with him because his father is the chief prosecutor. Kim has no parents. He lives with his grandmother. He has a grandfather, but nothing is known about him. Paul rolled back to his section. He is serious about entering a sports college and has even started following a strict diet. The new guy, Jamie Neiman, looks like a dude and speaks in a Seoul dialect. A transfer student, the son of the chief prosecutor, used his father's influence to establish his own rules at the school. He gathered a group of first years who behaved like bandits. It's worth mentioning the devil, he's right there. One of Jamie's friends points a finger at Kim. Matthew should never get involved with this jerk. In his past life, he got into trouble. He got into a fight and seriously injured his leg. Now he even walks with difficulty. They say it's all that transfer student, but they won't lay a finger on him because he's the prosecutor's son. Kim has nothing to do with it. He needs to study. Back then, he didn't want any trouble and ignored the problem of Matthew, his best friend. He is sitting in the classroom. Jamie and his group approach him. He heard that Matthew is friends with Kim Han-yeon and that he was really good at fighting. He's focused on his studies now and won't bother Jamie. So Kim doesn't care if he takes over the school. Let him do what he wants. He doesn't care. Kim really pisses Jamie off. He apparently has nothing better to do since he decided to pick on someone who is studying hard. The thing is, Jamie hates it when people think some jerk is better than him. And these guys seem to be more afraid of Kim than Jamie. Matthew demands that his friend not be touched. Without Kim, he is nobody and can only hide behind his back. Jamie stops a guy who was about to hit Matthew. He always gets what he wants, and always crushes those he wants to crush. He seems to be out of his mind. Matthew gets slammed face first into his desk. This is because he is a friend of that bastard Kim. He is sitting in the classroom. A student runs in and reports that Jamie is dragging Matthew somewhere. He told Kim to come to the outbuilding. Kim jumps up and runs. What is meant to happen, happens. Kim is caught up by Paul. Kim asks him not to interfere. He can't help but intervene when some bastards have his friend cornered. After all the grueling training, Paul has been hailed as Busan's young prodigy. But if he gets involved in a school violence incident, his dreams will be over. He is an athlete. If he is involved in such a case, it could affect his admission to college. He doesn't care about the college. If they do anything to Matthew, he'll tear them to pieces. Kim has big plans for the future, and he really needs him and Matthew. He will figure everything out himself. Kim takes a mop. He orders that no one be allowed in here. So he really was going to go alone. Paul forgot who he was. He is Kim Han-yeon. He comes to the extension. So it wasn't a joke. Jamie was told to put pressure on Matthew, and Kim would come running. If he hadn't come, Jamie would have broken Matthew's ankle and let him go. You should have come in person and not bothered Kim's friends. And indeed, for some reason, Jamie acted so badly. He remembered, it's more fun this way. Then they will have fun. Let Matthew go and Kim will entertain him well. Jamie gives the signal to attack Kim. The boys hesitate because they are afraid of him. Jamie told them who his father was. He was a prosecutor. If that little brat lays a finger on them, he'll rot behind bars for the rest of his days, so stop worrying about the consequences. The boys surround Kim. One attacks him with a pipe. Kim presses a mop on his throat. That's enough. Kim begins to fight off the others, who attack with bats and sticks. He uses more than just a mop, but she also came in handy for him. Kim killed everyone. Let him just move, and Jamie will stab his friend. With a lightning-fast movement, Kim knocks Jamie off his feet. He didn't seem to understand what he was getting himself into. Jamie's father is the chief prosecutor. He will put Kim behind bars for life. The prosecutor won't stop his fist from painting Jamie. This is because he attacked his friend. This is for stealing his precious time to study. And this is for breaking Matthew's ankle. In the end, Kim was indeed arrested. Paul's father comes to see him. He said that Kim went to save Matthew and ended up here. He's run into a problematic guy, the son of a deputy prosecutor, and even a police officer like Paul's father can't do much to help. Kim wants to ask you a favor. He just needs one phone call. After a while, Jamie's father appears, so Kim is the bastard who broke his son's leg. Anything can happen in a fight, and he was alone. But Jamie dragged in a dozen people, but for some reason only Kim was arrested. The prosecutor orders him to be taken to the interrogation room, despite the fact that he is a minor. He knows perfectly well how to talk to such assholes. Kim's class teacher told the prosecutor everything about him. He's almost a gangster. That mangy chain dog finally got his revenge on him. He was only defending himself, otherwise he could have been seriously injured. He even dares to claim that it was self-defense. He better answer honestly why he did it. He was told that Jamie was dragging his friend somewhere. He went to check, and then Jamie's gang attacked him. This won't do. He needs to be taught a lesson. The prosecutor orders him to be held. He starts beating Kim with a twisted belt and asking why he did it. Kim repeats that it was self-defense. Youngsters are always stubborn. The next blow will definitely calm his ardor. The prosecutor continues to beat him. But Kim still says it was self-defense. The more he resists, the worse it will be. The prosecutor asks if it is true that he was the first to attack Jamie with a knife. Kim has already told the truth. It was Jamie who had the knife. The prosecutor orders him to be tied up. Kim brought this weapon with him, so don't blame him. The prosecutor was going to torture him. Kim suddenly starts laughing. Like father, like his stoned son, both love to wave sharp objects. Then an investigator runs into the room. The district attorney is here. This crazy asshole is obviously stuck in the times of the Fifth Republic if he decided to do such a thing to a minor. If he wants to die, let him die alone. He wouldn't have dared to do anything at all if he had known who this schoolboy's grandfather was. He is Chairman Len's grandson. Soon he is sitting in his office and Tae-san asks how this happened. Kim asked for his help because the prosecutor was trying to extract a false confession from him using his powers. He could have avoided this if they had harassed him specifically, but they decided to act through people dear to him. Kim cannot allow his loved ones to suffer because of him. He will protect his family and friends no matter what happens. He owes Tae-san a considerable amount of money, but he will do anything to protect his friends. If Tae-san hadn't come to his aid, his life could have been ruined right there. In that case, it would show the depth of their family connection. If Tae-san had neglected Kim, there would have been no place for him in his family. That's right, a man shouldn't give up. Kim spoke seriously, but he knew that it was in line with Tae-san's beliefs. If you can't avoid a fight, you have to smear them so that next time they don't dare do it, half measures and mercy only leave them with loopholes to strike again. He must stand up for a valuable ally. Tae-san asks how things are in Busan. Prosecutor Neiman is under investigation and is implicated in numerous incidents, including bribery, torture, and fabrication of facts. The prosecutor's son was expelled from school, as were other students involved in the incident. Kim's class teacher, who testified against him, was also arrested. He had so many bribes on his account that an arrest warrant was issued immediately. Kim would like to ask one more favor. He asks to be allowed to settle the matter with District Attorney Hong himself. Michael Gray meets with him and asks what Hong will do with Prosecutor Neumann. At the moment, he is under arrest and faces severe punishment. The young gentleman's name must not come up during the trial. And also, someone wants to meet him. This is Kim. Hong truly regrets what happened. It's his fault, but as long as he leads the Busan department, it won't happen again. Kim knows perfectly well that he could not influence this in any way, and Tai-sung does not hold a grudge against him either. But still, Kim is his grandson. That's why he decided to sort it out himself. Because of him, Hong is in a difficult situation, so Kim is obliged to apologize. This happened because Hong failed to properly supervise his subordinates. Even hundreds of his apologies would not be enough. Kim will convey his sincere apologies to his grandfather. He would like to ask for just one favor when he needs it. It's not something that Hong can get hurt over, it's just something only he can control. He will be happy to help Kim. In this case, he will not bear any responsibility for what happened. Kim hopes that they will meet again under more pleasant circumstances. He returns to classes from tomorrow. Kim is leaving. He is a surprisingly calm and skilled negotiator, considering he is still a schoolboy. After this, school life continued without any incidents. Finally, the day of the entrance exams arrived. Kim successfully passed the placement tests until they were replaced by the CSAT, the Academic Aptitude Test. Michael looked at Kim's entrance exam results. On the last qualifying test in the history of entrance examinations, he received the first and only perfect score since its inception. Reporters besieged Kim with questions. He never had tutors or took extra classes. He just studied from textbooks. He is asked to say a few words of inspiration to the next generation of applicants. Kim would like to say that studying is actually a piece of cake. Matthew and Paul raise a toast to eternal friendship. No need to shout like that. They've been working nonstop for 3 years. They need to have some fun, at least today. This is Papa Matthew's club. Everything is reserved and paid for. In his past life, Kim drank frequently, from soju to whiskey, which cost tens of millions of won per bottle. It tastes like fake. After all, this is Matthew's father's establishment. Kim will just pretend to drink. Here are the most beautiful ladies among our clients today. They are 20 years old and have just recently entered the university. Kim doesn't let Matthew say that they were admitted to Seoul, and says that it's a small college on the outskirts of Seoul. Here someone calls out to one of the girls. He's waiting for her near the toilets, and she's here having fun with the young men. She will never set foot here again. The crowd is simply disgusting. She even refused to drink. Anyone in his place would have already realized that she didn't like his ugly face and would have left. Kim is getting into trouble again. Better leave quickly. He is about to leave. Matthew tells the bully to go to hell. He doesn't care about others. He came to drink. He will ruin his father's business with such antics. Here the bull starts to rage. The waiter tries to calm him down, but he got really angry. He starts to beat the waiter. Visitors scatter. Then Father Matthew comes. They rule Nampa Don and even supply him with drinks out of old friendship, and yet he treats them like this. So that's where the counterfeit whiskey comes from. Mr. Lee's son is still immature and sometimes causes trouble. He's really sorry. Matthew's father tells the boys to leave, and he will talk to his son at home. The bull starts to rage again, demanding that they stay. He had always been polite to Mr. Lee because he was older, but he wouldn't allow this. You could have just been nicer to him while he was polite. Matthew pounces on him. But of course, he can't overcome such a brute. If he pushes, he'll end up face down on the floor. Matthew's father asks to let the child go. Let him beat him instead. Bugai will do so since he asks so. Kim stops him. This is already going beyond all bounds. You can't beat a father in front of his son. He has already punished them enough. They have become so impudent. Kim doesn't even know who he is and dares to teach him. Kim dodges the blow. Then someone else's blow knocks the big guy to the floor. Looks like Sang-woo's shitlicker is having fun while Dan's not around. It's surprising that he hasn't been caught yet, apparently. He's such a mouse-like robber that even the police don't touch him. Now this is the territory of Sang-woo. Nampu Don never belonged to him. Dan's back, so get out of his sight before he smashes his head in. He is glad to see Kim again. It's clear that this guy is unusual, but Dan didn't think he was that smart. He saw him on the news. Dan returned recently, and it took a bit of quiet reclaiming of territory. Most of the gangs were captured, so he didn't encounter much resistance. Sassen's gang was destroyed. If Kim hadn't warned Dan, he would have already withered away underground. Kim saved his life. He must repay him. Kim asks how long it will take to bring all of Busan under his control. At best, 6 months. Then let Dung occupy Busan, bribe politicians and prosecutors, and don't let him get caught. And no drugs, they'll get to that soon too. At the same time, we need to prepare to slowly move from the shadows into the light. If Dan goes public, anyone like him will rush to take his place in the underground. It's just a cover-up. There's no point in remaining a bandit if the law is on his side. Even the gangs of Seoul have already figured out how to become corporations, and Busan shouldn't lag behind. You need to hire good lawyers and get everything properly registered and then move to Seoul. Things don't happen that easily. Seoul is a real battlefield. Kim will help Dan. He's talking nonsense, but very convincingly. It doesn't sound so bad, though. There is one condition. Kim's name must not be allowed to come up in this process. For now, Kim can't let anyone know about her. The Taesong family has not only acquired a law student, but also one at the top of the country. Taesong was very inspired during his phone conversation with the old man from Samson. They look down on his family, considering them uneducated people with money, and constantly boast that their children study at prestigious universities. But all these people still come to Taeson for loans. This is true, but it does not save you from the contemptuous glances behind your back. Taeson couldn't even finish school because he had to earn money, and his children weren't exactly bright. But his granddaughter, Julia, took second place in the entrance exam to a Korean university. That's right, Julia's a smart girl, but he likes Kim more. Taesung asks what they say about the new president. He is currently busy recruiting members for the transition committee, and Daesung has received 2 positions. To demand more is too much, after all. This time they have a civilian government. It would be best to put our own people in the positions of Minister of Economy and Minister of Internal Affairs. The Ministry of Internal Affairs has jurisdiction over the police and the prosecutor's office, so it is the most useful tool. Taesung asks what Tyler and Harry have been up to lately. The latter is preparing to open a new business, but it seems he has decided to get involved with bandits. But they should have been dispersed. This particular gang was under the wing of the Azure Wind community and survived. It seems this happened through involvement in the slot machine business. So the best Harry can do is gamble. He bribed his father-in-law to get him licensed, but he still amassed a lot of political assets. He must be sorting out his relatives' dubious dealings. We must make sure that they don't make even more mistakes. When he was young, Daesung should not have resorted to the services of the Azure Wind community. It's all karma. He must break this chain of evil fate no matter what. Soon, Kim comes to see Taeson. He was waiting for him. Taesung will rent him an apartment near the university and hire a cleaner so he can focus on his studies. If Taesung doesn't mind, Kim would like to stay here. Ever since he first stepped foot in this house, he wanted to stay. After all, his mother lived here, and he thought that he could become a little closer to her if he stayed here. And I would like to see Taesung more often. Kim understands well what the old man wants to hear. In his past life, he only came here if his grandfather called him. He was never invited to family gatherings. But now he entered the Korean University of Law and became one of the top students. So his grandfather had the opportunity to brag about him. Kim promised that you would ask for a big chunk if you entered the university. Taesung must be really curious, judging by the fact that he called him right after the graduation ceremony. Getting into a national university or getting the top grades in the country is not something you can just wish for. Kim would like him to teach him his craft. Lending money is not just about receiving and giving out papers. Kim is well aware that Tae-sung's job is hardly trivial, which is why he would like to learn it. He thought a lot about how to take possession of his grandfather's wealth and take revenge on the Len brothers. Using his knowledge of the future, making money through stocks, real estate, etc. is not a problem. But if he raises his funds this way, he could be discovered, and then Tyler and Harry will be keeping an eye on him. Kim does not yet have the strength or power to resist them. So the best choice is to pretend that Kim is passionate about her grandfather's business in order to melt his heart and then make him dance to her tune. Kim could have asked for something more pressing. He just thinks that it is better to learn how to catch fish than to get a supply of it. Michael believes it is too early to look into Tae-sun's case. Kim is not a science fan and would like to start doing something practical as soon as possible. This is a Korean law university after all. Admission to university is only proof of his skills and determination. But he wants to become an influential person, like Tae-sung. Of course, if he wants to see Kim as a lawyer, he can take the exam right now. He talks about the exam with such ease, as if it were a piece of cake for him. He is truly unpredictable and perhaps much more talented than Michael may realize. Tae-sung suggests testing it. The chairman is involved in private lending, providing loans at interest, or, in other words, lending money. Although lending is private, it is controlled by law, so you need to know it well. Since they borrow quite large sums, they need reliable collateral. Collateral can be property or various securities. They also accept shares, but only those that are well listed. The chairman personally handles lending to Korean companies. They are provided with funds urgently or in cases where the bank is unable to issue the required amount. There were no big banks back then, so private lenders like my grandfather were the center of the financial world. Kim needs to learn the basics of the chairman's negotiations with Korean companies, as well as delve into accounting and the laws governing loans. These are ledgers, contracts, and all records relating to current taxes. Kim has 3 days to review all of this, compile a summary from the key data, and submit it to Michael. He knows it all by heart. A week later, Tae-sung asks Michael what he thinks now that he has had his personal lesson. Kim is a natural with numbers and is adept at spotting patterns hidden in documents. Usually, it takes a lot of experience and time to develop such skills, but the young master does not experience any difficulties at all. Michael went with him to a couple of meetings with company representatives, and he was a natural. Michael has nothing to teach him. This means that it would be easy to put him in charge of dealings in Muyongdong. But even Tyler and Harry have difficulty finding common ground with its leaders. Sooner or later, Kim will have to communicate with them anyway. Tae-sung will see how useful he can be. Kim asks why Muyongdong. A center of private lending, Muyongdong is home to 5 major commercial banks. Tyler and Harry are also doing business here, and there are 4 others who are considered big shots. The chairman trusts them with money, so Kim should see if they know how to run things properly. Each of them is an expert in their field, so it won't be easy to expose them. The sooner they meet, the more Kim will learn. At that time, the private lending market was occupied by rather vicious people, whom even bandits feared. These 4 held their positions for decades, earning their grandfather's trust. Kevin Price hasn't seen Michael for a long time. He heard that Kim had entered the National University. He himself was a graduate of a similar university. Kevin gave up further education in a field that would have guaranteed him a good career in favor of this field. Kim wants to look at the reports. Everything in its time. For now, it's better to drink some coffee. Kim is new and doesn't want to waste time, so he politely asks to see the reports again. Kevin gives them to him. Let him drink coffee. There's nothing to look at anyway. The records are meticulously organized, but Kevin has never been that meticulous about his reports. Kim wants to look at the bank books too. This is the most important part. The recount is done every day. Kim will take this with her. The chairman told him to take away the dummy bank books that Kevin was keeping. He can call Tae-sun right now and check. There may be some reason why he is not yet ready to part with his bank books. There are no problems. It's just too unexpected. Kim would also like to speak with Kevin alone. His guards don't leave. As I said, alone. Kevin starts beating the guards. They don't understand the good news. Let them get out quickly. They are very ignorant. In a private conversation, politeness is of no use. Since Kevin is a sidekick, he has to act like one. Kim had one request. He asked not to come in, no matter what happened, when he was alone with Kevin. Kim knows he's up to something with the bank books, although it's clear that he and his guys need to earn a living. So to some extent, Kim is willing to turn a blind eye to this, but Kevin does not dare to involve the chairman's secret account in this. He didn't bring the secret bank book. This account was a secret between Kevin and Tae-sung. Grandfather entrusted 4 books to the 4 leaders of Muyongdong. These accounts with non-existent names containing $1 trillion each. In August 1993, the real name system was introduced in finance, and as a result, $4 trillion were lost. Kim demands that the secret book be brought to him quickly. Kevin asks to give him some time. If Kevin doesn't see her within 10 minutes, he'll call the chairman and tell him everything. Just 1 month. This is not how one asks for mercy. Kevin stands up and bows. Kim gives him 2 weeks. It will remain just between them. If this is clear, Kim sees no problem with bank books and reports. They will discuss the rest in 2 weeks. Kim leaves the office. Kevin was told something completely different about him. Kim checked the reports and requested 12 fake bank books for reconciliation. At first, Kevin spoke to him in a rather condescending manner. But then they talked privately, and Kim came out of the office with an extremely self-confident face. When Michael leaves, Tayson calls Kevin. He asks what he thinks about Kim. Compared to Tyler and Harry, he looks much more like Tayson. He asks what they talked about in private. Kim demanded a secret bank book that no one but Kevin and Taesung should know about. Kevin asks if he should bring a book, and Taesung says yes. He heard rumors that he raised his voice in a conversation with Kim. Kevin apologizes. Even if servants become rich, they still will not sit at the same table with their masters. Let's not forget who gave Kevin what he has. Now Kim knows his weaknesses. The money in every fake account will disappear when the financial reform is carried out. It would be good to take it for ourselves. This would make it much easier to take revenge on the Len brothers. Kim plans to reconcile the statements every 2 weeks, so she will take the bank books with her. He asks if Patrick Neal has another book issued personally by the chairman. Judging by his reaction, Kevin didn't tell him anything. Kim talks about a secret account. Taesung asked to check it too, but he said it was a secret. The fact that Kim knows about this proves that Taesung wanted it. Perhaps the money from the fake accounts didn't just disappear. It seems Patrick needs time. A week will be enough. Kim knows that Grandpa has done a lot for them, but stealing from the secret account he entrusted to them is too much. Still, Grandfather is still full of strength. Sean Sang-gil is a wrestling champion whom Taesung has supported since childhood. Among the leaders of Muyongdong, Sean values and respects him the most. Kim asks to also bring the chairman's secret bank book. Sean approaches the safe hidden behind Taesung's portrait. He takes out a book from there and gives it to Kim. It seems this guy didn't take other people's money. Now they are heading to the last, most experienced leader of Muyongdong. Unlike others who studied under Taesung, this one has been working in the profession since 1970. This is a man who can defeat the bandits of Muyongdong Market with one hand. Joseph Yun, nicknamed the Hammer. Kim and Michael come in to see him. He asks them to sit down and wait. Half an hour passes. Joseph apologizes for the wait. After all, these are reports for the chairman. If so, Kim wants to take a look. Joseph had heard that Michael had been extremely busy lately, and he was probably tired of changing diapers. If he gets tired of Kim, he can always send him to Joseph. Be careful with your words. This is the chairman's grandson. Joseph doesn't have to blow dust off this sucker. Michael can keep the old-fashioned bows to himself. It is unknown whether Kim understands what is written there. What a naive provocation. There are no problems with the reports, however. The main trump card is the secret bank book. Kim would like to take the bank books for inspection. This is the chairman's order. Joseph blows cigarette smoke straight into Kim's face. Since this is the chairman's order, let him come himself. He personally entrusted the books to Joseph, and he would give them to him personally. His jokes are already crossing all boundaries. He is completely serious. In business, procedures and formalities are very clearly structured. It seems Michael hasn't even taught Kim this yet. At such a time, he decided to do some sloppy work. Kim asks him to wait outside. It wouldn't hurt for him to cool down a bit. Kim again asks to bring him the bank books, as well as the chairman's secret account. He seems to be serious about Kim, but that doesn't change anything. Kim raises her voice. He was not yet out of diapers, and Joseph was already helping Daesung to crush the Muyongdong market. Only the chairman can give him orders. Even his sons are not his orders, and Kim even more so. He has no idea how many times Joseph saved Taeson's ass with that hammer. He wrote the history of Muyongdong and the moneylenders, so Joseph will really persist to the end. Kim has no idea how people end up in business. Even if Joseph desperately wants to dominate, this is too much. It's unlikely that he plans to rebel against Taesung. There may be something Kim doesn't know. He gives him 1 day. If Joseph continues to treat the matter this way tomorrow, Kim will not let it go. He heads towards the doors. Joseph swings a hammer at him. Kim doesn't move. So he has a lot of guts. Joseph can only swing a hammer, but he doesn't have the courage to hit. If he had really attacked Kim, he would have buried him. Let him prepare the bank books by tomorrow if he values his life. If he pulls something like that tomorrow, Kim guarantees he'll get his head bashed in. Michael heard sounds of some kind of fuss. Nothing serious, just a fool trying to smash Kim's head with a hammer. Joseph insisted that Tae-sung come and get the bank books in person. He also tried to attack Kim with a hammer. Tae-sung asks why Michael thinks Joseph acted that way. Michael himself doesn't know. He never allowed himself to do such a thing. It was as if he was deliberately trying to provoke Kim. Tae-sung gives Michael the authority to handle the matter personally. Kim is still a child. Joseph just scared him, and that was it. There is nothing special about it at all. It seems the chairman is not so picky anymore. A truck is approaching Joseph's car from behind, almost right on top. Joseph ends up tied up in a building under construction. Michael approaches him. He has a hammer in his hand. They need to have a serious talk. Michael removes the handkerchief from Joseph's mouth. He won't get away with this. He tried to hit Kim with a hammer. David swings it at Joseph. However, he did not hit him. Michael asks why Joseph did this. He was just testing it. Joseph agrees to give him the bank books. He sees two guys dragging a tank. Michael asks who gave him the order. Joseph reiterates that he simply wanted to test Kim. The guys put a table in front of him. Then Joseph's hands are untied. He better answer Michael's question. No one ordered him to do anything. Joseph swears that's true. But Michael still hits him on the finger with a hammer. He asks again who gave him the order. Joseph continues to insist that no one ordered him to do anything like that. Then Michael hits him on the finger with the hammer again. He repeats his question again. Joseph insists. Michael swings the hammer again. He asks one last time before moving on to the right hand. Joseph doesn't answer. Michael tells him to hold it. Then Joseph agrees to talk. The order was given by Tyler Lane. A week ago, the leaders of Muyongdong met with Tyler and Harry. They must have heard about the new foster child in Dae-sung's house. He is currently being trained directly to work as a chairman. A young dandy appeared out of nowhere and latched onto him, aiming for his place. The leaders of Muyongdong carry on Dae-sung's legacy and cherish it. But now people say that an outsider will inherit it. Nobody knows how long Tae-sung will live. He couldn't let a strange, ragged man from the street bewitch him. Be careful with your words. Tae-sung is still in perfect health. Sean is still full of loyalty, which is commendable. And yet they must nip in the bud any attempts to cloud the chairman's mind. Kim is his grandson. It's a family affair. Tyler's only concern is that he might cause Tae-sung to make the wrong choice. With the change of president, any little thing could have a huge impact on their business. Soon this boy will visit them along with Michael Gray. You need to test it and understand what it's made of. Kevin, Patrick, and Sean clearly didn't like the idea, but Joseph agreed to test Kim. He is just a 20-year-old youth. We need to teach him a valuable lesson. As always, Joseph gets to the root of the matter. So it was Tyler's idea. He only asked to test Kim, and Joseph volunteered. He will have to undergo surgery at a top hospital, but it is unlikely that he will be able to use his left hand again. After all, he worked hard for Tae-sung for 30 years. He should be allowed to retire and given the necessary benefits. Tae-sung will take care of his sons himself. Michael broke the fingers on Joseph's left hand. It seems like father already knows everything. The phone rings. Tyler did ask not to be disturbed. This is a direct call from the chairman. Tae-sung knows that it was Tyler who asked the Muyongdong leaders to test Kim. He simply told them to take care of him. At his age, it's time for him to gain at least a little wisdom. Looking at his actions, Tae-sung becomes even more inclined to accept Kim as his successor. If he catches Tyler trying to harm Kim again, he'll throw him out and leave him penniless. Tyler throws the phone at the wall. Kim dared to stand between them and their father. The new president reorganized the Howe Council. The first thing he did was change the military structure and disband the entire top brass. He hasn't even really taken over the country yet, and he's already dissolved the council. Still, the military regime was associated with significant losses. Many are worried about a possible coup. Tae-sung asks Kim's opinion. The military will not begin to resist. The president has already replaced the Minister of Defense and the Chief of the General Staff. The top of the Howe Council is in any case aimed at a conservative regime. But what is more important is that the people themselves will not allow the military to carry out a coup. So, Kim understands politics too. This is a significant change in Tae-sung's work. He asks what issues the president has raised recently. Unfortunately, God only knows what's on his mind. However, at a recent conference, the issue of fighting corruption was actively discussed. They are particularly interested in disclosing the assets of officials to the public. The real name system in finance has not yet been discussed, and even the Minister of Finance and the owners of large companies have been unable to obtain even the slightest clue. If the implementation of the system is delayed, there is a high probability that it will drag on until the end of the presidential term. The real name system will be introduced by the end of this year. This issue has been raised since the 70s, and Dae-sung himself sees the new president's decisive attitude. but he may well be tied hand and foot by some assets. If he carries out this reform, his own assets will also be exposed. Kim believes they should still take action against fake and anonymous accounts. Tae-sung had long ago divided the money among people he could trust. There is no limit to human greed. If the system is introduced, Tae-sun will no longer be able to receive his money personally. Due to the financial reform, he suffered significant losses. All his money from anonymous and fake accounts disappeared in an instant. The system may be delayed, but it will be introduced no later than summer. Tae-sung never disclosed the existence of anonymous accounts to anyone. He himself told Kim to take the bank books, but judging by the owners' faces, something was fishy there. In a one-on-one conversation, when Kim asked directly, they were clearly not telling the whole story. From now on, Tae-sung entrusts him with 400 billion from the fake accounts he confiscated from the leaders of Muyongdong. Since Kim is able to save this money, Tae-sung entrusts it to him. If he loses them, he will get nothing else. Kim expected a handout, but he didn't think that Tae-sung would give him everything at once. Now Kim's hands are a little freer in terms of his plan for revenge against the Leng brothers. It is necessary to sort through all the accounts, reduce all the fake, anonymous, and dead accounts to one. If reform does happen, Kim is clearly born with divine intuition. With the new president taking office, the regime, which had been built primarily by the military, was replaced by a civilian one. As soon as he stepped into office, the president immediately set about reforms, while secretly preparing a draft for a real-name system in finance. Kim and other students attended the university's entrance ceremony. It's boring as hell. Classes won't start until tomorrow. Kim was thinking about popping into the library. The first thing you need to do at any university is to visit there. Since they are in Seoul, we should celebrate their arrival. Kim did say he would never drink with Matthew again. He just wants to have fun. He'd be better off thinking about the upcoming bar exam. Matthew will pass the first stage in a couple of years. We just need to have fun today. A couple of glasses and back. Here it is, the smell of youth. It's a straight-up rock cafe, no reserved tables, just dance and have fun as much as you like. Here he is, the best student in Korea. They thought he was a typical nerd, but he goes to places like this. They are second-year law students from the university. The best student also turned out to be a good-looking one. He's only here for a couple of drinks. No need to listen to him, Matthew will have fun all night. They have been friends with Kim since childhood. They are from Busan, and Gwangali is especially popular with them. Matthew has a very cute accent. Kim is so quiet, but that's natural. The handsome guy can do anything. Someone calls out to the girl. This voice is all too familiar to Kim. This is John Lane. Better avoid this asshole. It's time for them to go. John can enjoy the evening. Just don't let him overdo it so as not to cause problems. Helen hangs out with such scum, but pretends to be unapproachable and all-powerful. It's none of his business who she associates with. Every time Kim decides to drink, shit happens. John doesn't let Helen go. Enough. John was always causing trouble for everyone in his youth. It is also not beneficial for Kim to reveal their acquaintance. It is humiliating. People are watching. Stop clowning around. It's Grandpa who's going to have to take the rap for John. He calls his thugs. They actually relax here. There is one cockroach that crawled into John's house. Kim tells Matthew to leave. He asks if everything will be okay. He means them. Of course not. Kim dealt with them. Stop hanging around with these types. John isn't some kind of bandit. If this happens again, Kim will no longer turn a blind eye to it. John will deal with the consequences himself. There is no need to come to Kim about this issue. If they come, John will see him more often. During class, the teacher asks what the first paragraph of the first article of the Constitution says. The Republic of Korea is a democratic republic. The teacher asks about the second point. The student doesn't know the answer. The supreme power of the Republic of Korea belongs to the people, and all state power also emanates from the people. Whatever they become after graduation, they are obliged to keep the first and second paragraphs of the first article of the Constitution in their hearts. Kim, of course, hadn't forgotten his and Paul's plans for the evening. Considering how busy he is with training, it's a rare opportunity to cross paths with him. Then someone calls out to Kim. This is apparently a senior student. She's Julia Lane. Kim needs to know who she is. This is Tyler's daughter and the granddaughter of the company's chairman, Samson. Kim still remembers her contemptuous look, as if he were some kind of insect cleaning up after her family. Julia would like him to spend some time with her. She heard that he passed the entrance exams with flying colors. She is also studying here, but in the Faculty of Business Administration. Kim planned to meet a friend today. He is rather cold, after all. Julia is his cousin, and this is their first meeting. His uncles had been using too much discipline on him lately. Julia heard that Kim had forced all the leaders of Muyongdong to submit. She decided that it wouldn't hurt to pay a visit after that. Julia invites Kim to collaborate. They have no reason to be feuding. She is not interested in her grandfather's business. All she cares about is Samson Corporation. If Kim helps her, she will help him inherit his grandfather's fortune. Until he showed up, the inheritance was intended only for John Lane. If Kim cooperates with Julia, she is willing to provide valuable information. Perhaps she overestimates this idiot John. Even if Kim liked Grandpa, he is still an outsider in the family. If he can gain Samson's support, even what Kim considers impossible may be possible. He asks what Julia would like in return. If Kim inherits her grandfather's position, let him simply support it with Samson's assets. Since John is inheriting the business, he should give her the same since their relationship is much closer. Once he gets his grandfather's fortune, he will simply absorb the Samson Corporation. As far as Kim knows, there is already a clearly established hierarchy of inheritance there. Julia isn't aiming for the entire corporation, but she really wants at least half. At least that's what her mother, the eldest daughter of the owner Samson, is entitled to. In her past life, Julia also got involved in a battle of succession and still managed to snatch a third of the company's assets. The Julia that Kim knew should definitely not be underestimated. She is capable of stabbing you in the back at any moment for her own interests. She will only lose money from this deal. Kim feels like she's at a disadvantage, and all she has is his word of honor. If he doesn't succeed as grandfather, she won't get anything, and if he succeeds, he can easily cover up the traces of his betrayal. But Julia is disgusted by the very thought of John grabbing all of his grandfather's assets. This jerk always got what he wanted, so she'll happily watch someone else take his share. Kim will think about it. Julia would like to receive an answer as soon as possible. If Kim refuses, she needs time to think of another way. She's leaving. This girl is too beautiful. For some reason, beauties only stick to Kim. This is his cousin, and they met for the first time. In her past life, Julia didn't even consider him a person, but now she suddenly offers to cooperate. It is unknown whether this will be an opportunity or a trap. Kim comes to Tai-sung, who asks how the first lessons went. Julia came up to him to introduce herself. They decided to communicate with her more often. Kim asked to meet with Tai-sung because he wanted to transfer 400 billion won abroad. There is no need to use them now, so he wants to try investing in foreign assets. Tai-sung doesn't think that keeping money to himself is a bad idea in the current situation. Transferring money abroad is indeed difficult, but after the financial reform, it will be even more difficult. The current government will continue to create laws that are inconvenient for Tai-sung, and the underground part of the economy that he controls will suffer the most. Therefore, Kim decided that it was absolutely necessary to move some of his assets abroad in advance. It's as easy as pie if you use the overseas branches of corporations that have received loans from Tai-sung. That's true, but he still doesn't see a clear reason. Since he has entrusted money to Kim, he only asks for a little faith in him. It's a crude approach, but sometimes being straightforward is the best solution. His uncles don't even dare to speak properly in front of Dae-sung. Either Kim is fearless or this is how he shows his character. So you just need to transfer money abroad. 400 billion won into an account in America, and for the next 7 years, it's best to forget about this money. Kim guarantees that Tae-sung will not lose a single one. He will do as he said. But if the money is lost, he won't give Kim a second chance. He needs this money to confront Tyler and Harry. Kim needs someone he can trust with his money. This is someone who has an eye for promising foreign projects. In the late 90s, he would shake up the Korean stock market, although now he is a lone investor who is going through hard times. But in the next 10 years, he will amass a fortune of hundreds of billions. The stock market god Chester Khan. This man owes quite a lot of money, so finding him is not that difficult. Kim approaches the reception desk. He asks if a man named Chester stayed here. No one would write their real name in the register of an ordinary hotel. The employee doesn't know anyone here. Then a man of about 25 years old who has lived here for quite a long time. The employee doubts whether there are any here at all. Then Kim resorts to drastic measures. Now the employee remembers. She doesn't know his name, but he is quite young. Here comes Chester. Here he is. Realizing that they are looking for him, Chester starts to run. Kim runs after him. He runs out onto the roof. Chester was about to jump between buildings. Kim shouts that he is not a debt collector. He just wants to talk. So he is not one of the creditors. In fact, Kim is one of them. But that doesn't matter now. Chester thought it was the creditors who had come for his soul. And this guy will become known as a stock market god. At the moment, he is in a rather difficult situation. Debt collectors are constantly harassing him. First we need to eat, and then we can talk. Chester had already forgotten the taste of meat. He has no money, a ton of debt. Debt collectors are all around. He is not in a position to buy himself what he wants. Kim asks how much he owes to the loan sharks. 5 million won, but now it's 2.5. Chester was planning to pay back within a week, but due to the damn tempting promotions, he went overboard. Kim will settle the remaining debt, and in exchange, he wants Chester to work for him. No one in their right mind would help the first person they meet with a loan, let alone offer them a job. Kim must have been planning to kidnap him and sell him for his organs. If Chester was going to die anyway, he would order 4 more servings of beef. Kim suggests going right now to where Chester borrowed the money. They'll buy more meat when they figure everything out. This is the very place. The kids here are really scary. They just want to pay their bills. They have nothing to fear. They come in. Chester Khan came to his death in person. Kim grabs the bandit's arm and twists it. They came to pay their bills. The boss enters. Chester has no idea how long they've been chasing him. Kim will pay for it. 6 months ago, Chester borrowed 5 million plus 30% fixed interest and another 12 for late payments. Stop calculating from the book, just name the final figure. 50 million won. A couple of days ago, it was only 2.5. The moneylender had already written everything down. You should have read the contract. It took 17 million just to track down Chester, and the moneylender couldn't sleep because of him. So he added compensation for moral damages. This is the essence of any moneylender, to fleece a desperate person blind. 50 million in cash, and the loan shark will happily dispose of this folder. Kim wants to use the phone. He asks Michael to prepare 50 million won in cash and bring it to the address he will now name. The money will be delivered in 15 minutes. The loan shark asks why Kim needs to pay off Chester's debt. He has one business with him, for which he pays in advance. Kim is an interesting guy. Maybe he wants to work here. Kim says he is still a student. If he can't find a job after graduation, let him just call a loan shark. He seems to be one of those who will go completely bankrupt after the introduction of the real name financial system. Kim is not interested in this. Even by the standards of lawlessness, they cross the line. They apparently enjoy squeezing the life out of people who earn their living through sweat and blood, threatening them with such thugs. I really like it, but Kim doesn't seem to be taught any manners at all. The moneylender, devoid of any sense of proportion, decided to tell him about manners. It's funny. The moneylender orders Kim to be captured. He wants to teach him a lesson in good manners, like a responsible adult. It's time already. And indeed, the door opens. Just in time, Michael enters. The thugs were starting to attack him. The boss tells them to stop. He greets Director Gray. Everyone in Muyongdong knows about him because he works for Daesung Lang. Michael brought Kim 50 million won. So Kim is the chairman's grandson. Michael asks what's going on here. Kim says he just wants to pay for a friend. But the local boss seems to be more interested in good manners than in money. The moneylender asks for forgiveness. It was a terrible mistake. He didn't recognize Kim. He is the grandson of Chairman Daesung Lane. The thugs also kneel. Kim puts her briefcase on the table. The moneylender can take his money back. Kim asks to give back the contract. He invites Chester to check it out. Instead, Chester tears up the contract. Now that the debt has been repaid, we need to run some numbers. Firstly, compensation for moral damages in the form of shock that Kim experienced as a result of the loan shark's aggressive behavior. 15 million for all the trouble he had put Kim through in searching for Chester. 10 million as payment for Michael, who had been forced to appear urgently. Kim is just making people pay their bills, just like a loan shark. And finally, compensation for wasted time. Total is exactly 50 million won. This is too much. Kim can't do this to him. He simply decided that it was better to work with the loan shark according to his scheme. Now that they're even, it's time for them to go. We must not allow them to set foot in Muyongdong in the future. Kim and Chester leave, but Michael stays. He asks the moneylender who he works for. On Chairman Sam Crow. And he stood in Kim's way with only this kind of protection. If Chairman Leng found out, even Sam Crow wouldn't be safe. The moneylender is really sorry. He didn't know that Kim is Taesung's grandson. If Michael sees them in Muyongdong again, he'll cut off their fingers and use them as keychains. They have one evening to clean up. Now that the debt is cleared, Chester must be feeling relieved. Chester asks who Kim is. He's so young, yet he can get 50 million with the snap of his fingers, and those bandits, when they found out about him, almost wet their pants. He's just a student. Here's his ID. That Director Gray mentioned Taesung Lang. I think Kim is his grandson, and he's a big shot in the loan shark world. It's not that important. Kim wants Chester to do something for him. But he already has everything that Chester doesn't have. Kim wants him to do what he's good at, trading on the stock exchange under his guidance. He has already lost all his money due to loans he took out for trading on the stock exchange. If Kim had a little more money, he would have crushed these stock market scammers to smithereens. Let Chester take this and use it all to shake up the stock market tomorrow. Kim doesn't care even if he loses everything. He can consider this as startup capital. Sometimes Kim will give him directions on specific things, and he will have to place them exactly as he is told. Kim barely knows him. Chester could just steal his money and flee abroad. Even if he goes abroad, he will still continue trading on the stock exchange. Kim will only give him a chance to prove himself. In his autobiography, Chester wrote that if the South Korean stock market were more honest and reasonable, he would never have invested in foreign stocks. This time, he will become Kim's hunting dog. Next on the agenda is to build up physical strength. Kim needs his own organization. They need to deal with Dan Su and divide the territory. Deng may have taken over most of Busan, but he lacks competent subordinates, and they certainly won't stand by him to the death. First, we need to discuss the benefits and then act. They don't need internecine squabbles after Dan's elimination. Everything needs to be justified, then the guys will follow the order. Sang-gu received the instructions personally. They will get rid of Dan and take over Busan. Dan comes to the prison to see the leader of the Sasan gang, Tim Sason. He himself knows very well how he is doing. Prison is simply a health facility. You can't drink. There's physical activity all day long and 3 meals a day. Only Dan remained free. Tim heard rumors that many of the gang leaders had been captured and that Dan was now in control of most of Busan. He was simply acting on behalf of the Sason gang. If Tim had been free, he would have sorted everything out long ago. He'll be fine when he's free. Sasan's gang now belongs to Dan. Time's up. Dan should worry more about himself. Tim has aged rather quickly in these few years. They must be close. Dan's parents abandoned him when he was still a baby, and for some time his grandfather raised him alone. But suddenly he left him too. It seems Grandpa worked with Tim for a while. Dan wanted to drop out of school and start working for him right away, but he gave him 3 million won and told him to at least finish school. Back then, 3 million was worth several annual salaries of the average employee. After graduation, Tim gave Dan 10 million and told him to think about the future for another month. Dan returned with the entire amount and said that the money would not make him happier if he did not work under Tim's leadership. He thought that Dan would spend all the money and run away. He said that some high school student warned him about what was coming. This guy is real and he's coming back to Busan. We need to meet him. Little Kim has grown so much that he definitely didn't neglect milk. This is Dan's lawyer, Alan Sangyan. Kim asks what part of Busan is already occupied and how much more time is needed. All that's left is to take Haeundae, after which we can leave the corporation to smart guys. Dan did say that it would take at least 6 months. Seoul is actively fighting crime, but with the help of corporations, control will soon be restored. They were attacked. Dan leaves the office. A crowd of bandits burst into the room. They are led by Sang-gu. And then there's that same asshole from the bar. Dan would never believe that Sang would have the courage to take such an initiative. Someone had given him the order. Dan asked for it. And everyone present thinks so too. They ask to be understood. It seems Dan has allowed himself to relax in relation to his subordinates. They also want a good life. He has taken over Busan, and they must be content with crumbs from the master's table. So this is how he was repaid for his kindness. Alan will request backup, but they will only arrive in about 10 minutes. Enough chatter. We need to put an end to them. Dan rushes into the attack. He managed to put one down. One bandit is going to attack Alan. It turns out that he is not as defenseless as he might seem at first glance. I wonder where the lawyer got such knife skills. Nobody needs a sissy who can only handle paperwork. They continue to fight. One of the leaders manages to strike Dan. He swings again. Dan knocks the bat out of his hands. He then throws the bandit to the floor. And although he didn't want to attack Dan, he wasn't going to stand on ceremony with him. There are too many bandits. Sang-gu approaches Dan. He attacks. This time, the blow hit the target. This is because Dan humiliated Sang-gu in front of so many people. It's only his fault. Someone's blow knocked Sang-gu to the floor. Kim hit him. The forefathers were already tired of waiting for him. It's all his fault. It all started because of him. Kim is processing it. Sang-gu will find him and slaughter him like a pig. Kim delivers the finishing blow. This is where the support group comes in. The bandits have gone too far. Considering that Sasan, under their leadership, ate from the same pot, it would be wrong to cut off their livelihood. Dan asks whose idea this is. Sang-gu starts to giggle. They throw him to the floor. Dan grabs his leg. Sang-gu asked for it himself, don't blame him. Dan uses a knife. He asks who gave Sang the order. His rotten mother. Sang-gu will regret this and be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. It's all Sasan. Tim Sason came back and ordered it. He would never do that to Dan. It's true, Sasan ordered them to do it. He came to them and told them to start working for Dan. Sasan decided that it was he who turned the gang over to the police. Dan starts cutting Sang-gu again. All the wounded were safely taken to hospital. Dan doesn't understand how Sasan could have any motive to be angry with him. He took care of everything, even his family. In his past life, Tim Sasson killed Dan, blaming him for all his sins. If no action is taken, a similar situation may happen again. A delicate approach only gives free rein to the cattle. We need to leave only proven people and get rid of dubious ones. It's always better to strike first. Kim doesn't know Sasson, but he's like a father to Dan. They are not in a time where gangsters care about loyalty and pride. It's clear that Tim Sasson, whom Dan regards as a father figure, wants to get rid of him. If he fails, they will no longer be able to work together. Apparently, in his eyes, Kim is still that schoolboy on the roof of the hospital. He gives Dan the opportunity to work together for a big plan, but if he hesitates, he will have to reconsider this decision. If he doesn't settle things in Busan by October, their relationship is over. This Kim Lan is really a tough guy. He's right about everything. Even Dan understands that brute force and gangs are no longer in favor. Money is required even for pretense. It seems that they already rule the world. I just need to sort everything out and go to Seoul. The guest has not answered the knock for 4 hours. The manager orders the door to be opened. Upon entering, they find the guest hanging from a noose. This is one of the leaders of the bandits who attacked Dan. I had to park like this, and there weren't even any contacts. Suddenly, a man falls on the car from above. Another ringleader is found in the freezer. Sangu tries to escape from his pursuers. That freak Dan ruined his legs, making him crippled, and that's not enough for him. Sangu will take revenge on him at any cost. The wheelchair wheel hits the rock. Because of this, it tilts and falls. Sangu fell into the water. Alan came on behalf of Dan. He is his lawyer. A couple of days ago, he was attacked, and former members of the Sasson gang were behind it. Dan survived, but they said it was Tim Sasson's order. This is nonsense. If Dan believed this, let him come and ask questions, looking Tim in the eyes. Alan takes out a mini-player. Dan's voice is heard. He can't come to the prison, so he is forced to pass this message on with a lawyer. He understands why Tim might suspect him. It's no wonder he doubted Dan, considering he went into hiding and avoided the raid. So all this time, Dan tried to do everything so that by the time Tim was released from prison, he could continue to live comfortably. But recently Dan was attacked. They said that it was Tim's order. Dan didn't believe it. However, doubts crept into his heart as well. He will continue to care for Tim's family. But Tim has to go. As long as he lives, this monster in Dan's heart will not rest. Tim asks what he plans to do after he takes Busan. He will hand over control to a reliable person and move to Seoul. Oh, that little Don-soo, he's definitely a big shot now. Tim is sorry. Alan soon informs Dan that Tim has rested in peace. He hanged himself. Because of Dan, Sasson committed suicide, and he even went to Hyundai. Stop yapping. Today, Dan will be boiled alive. The Hyundai area has been successfully cleared. Perhaps now Dan will not look like a laughingstock in Kim's eyes. Apparently, the government has begun its illegal activities. Dozens of high-ranking officials from the Ministry of Finance suddenly disappeared. It's finally started. Some rich people and financiers have already figured out where this is all heading. This must be a real-name financial system. Taesung believes that it will not be announced before the new year. Given the president's personality, there is a high chance that it will be introduced in August at the latest. After all, it's next month. They probably want to start a reform when no one expects it. This system will be introduced on August 12th, and everyone will be caught off guard. The law will be adopted almost unanimously by both the ruling party and the opposition. They must be prepared for this scenario and must get rid of all fake and anonymous accounts. Taesung has already sorted out the anonymous accounts, but the fake ones take a little longer. If you manage to save money at least in anonymous accounts, the losses will not be as catastrophic as in your past life. At the end of the year, Kim plans to send Chester Khan to America. All funds from the US account should end up in his hands. Kim will create an investment company and will control most of the assets himself. Michael will transfer the money on the first order. Kim was always curious about who he really was. He fulfills all of Taesung's demands flawlessly. If the chairman orders something, he does not ask questions, but simply carries it out. That is his duty. Kim asks if Michael will follow an order if it is unfair. For example, something that will kill Michael. If Taesung decides so, he will obey. Kim asks what he will do if Taesung orders his grandson to be killed. Michael will obey. In his past life, he was also blindly devoted to his grandfather, and after his death, he said that the debt was paid and disappeared without a trace. Kim wants Michael to introduce him to someone like him, someone who will do what you ask without question, someone you can trust completely. Kim visits Stephen Bradley, chairman of the Dahyun Group and the richest man in Korea. Stephen was looking forward to meeting Chairman Len's smart grandson. He's not sure he can teach Kim anything that Taesung can't. He will have enough opportunity to listen to the story of his life. If I had to choose between the respected gentlemen, Stephen would most likely point to Tayson. He stumbled only once when the government froze private lending. Those who borrowed money had to prove their sources of income in order to get it back. Kim must understand that this is the reason why people like Stephen got rich. When there was no longer a need to pay off creditors, doing business became very profitable. The government used its power to free businessmen from debt at once, and many moneylenders went bankrupt. Stephen asks Kim if he knows how his grandfather got out of that situation without any losses. Taesung doused himself with gasoline. Once they borrowed the money, they must return it. If they refuse, Taesung will take them and their entire factory to hell with him. He threatened to burn down factories and kill families, doing everything possible to make these people regret not paying up immediately. Then entrepreneurs began to take him into account. As the number of competitors decreased, his business took off. Unfavorable policies and crises can be a great opportunity if the right approach is found. Kim asks what Stephen thinks about the real name financial system. This is an inevitable measure. No one will allow the underground economy to flourish forever. But for growth and development, only money matters. The real name system is necessary, but when it is introduced, chaos will begin. And in the midst of the crisis, an opportunity to succeed will arise. If we talk about opportunities during this period, then we must grab them. That's how the economy works. While some people lose, others get rich. But Stephen didn't even consider the possibility of the entire country going bankrupt. This happens in many countries from time to time. It's always important to think ahead and prepare in advance. That's how people make money. But no matter how great the benefit, you shouldn't become too greedy. The economy is like a living organism. If it subscribes to your greed, it can turn into a monster. It's thanks to Kim that Chester got such an office with an incredible view from the window. There was an offer yesterday. He studied it and invested everything he had right before the stock exchange closed. And today, when it opened, the price jumped to its maximum. Today's profit was 20 million won. All assets must be sold by August 12th at the latest, but the market is stable at the moment. It's not time to sell yet. Following Kim's orders without question was their agreement from the very beginning. You could at least give him some advice. They can even bet that if the market crashes sharply after August 12th, Kim will win. And if it holds, Chester will win. If he wins, he will receive all the current assets in their exchange account. But if Kim wins, Chester won't ask any more questions about his instructions. Either way, he has nothing to lose. Kim knows that he is a U.S. citizen. This is the second reason why he chose Chester. His parents emigrated to the United States. Then he graduated from college there and returned to Korea. Loan sharks are scary people. There was no need to write such a detailed autobiography. Chester will soon go to the USA, open an investment company, and recruit staff. It appears Kim wants to create the appearance that his profits are coming from abroad. After a couple of years, Chester will open a branch in Korea. Only then will he be able to return. In any case, he obeys. When the company opens, it will have 400 billion won in its account. This money will have to be invested mostly where Kim says, but Chester can use the rest as he sees fit. This is, of course, the money of rich grandfather Kim. They have already been washed. There will be no fines. It's just an unthinkable amount. 1 can of coffee costs 300 won. I wonder how many cans that would cost. 3 years from now, it will seem like a mere trifle to Chester, like the price of a can of coffee. The 12th of August is approaching. Now it's time to announce the president's urgent innovation in the financial system. From now on, all payment transactions are possible only under the citizen's real name. The head of the Ministry of Economy says he knew nothing about this, and the Minister of Internal Affairs doesn't even answer the phone. Luckily, they took care of the bills in time, but about 500 billion remained under other people's names. Taesung orders all debt collectors to be mobilized and tasked with collecting funds from debtors' accounts. Everything must be finished by tomorrow. Taesung asks how Kim knew about the system's introduction. He wasn't sure, he just assumed. He based his guesses on the president's personality and his election promises. It's more like a clear certainty. But these are really just guesses. People were simply too fixated on the fact that the system would never be introduced. Kim thought more broadly. So even wider than Taesung, the entire elite of Korea thought along the same lines. Kim is right. Everyone knew this was inevitable. Taesung asks what to expect from tomorrow. The stock market will collapse, and even ordinary citizens will rush to banks to withdraw funds. Banks will face a shortage of money for payments. Also, nothing can prevent the outflow of money abroad because the rich will be forced to somehow protect their capital. Taesung will also try to transfer money abroad. But once citizens begin making traceable transactions under their real names, trust in the exchange market will also increase. Taesung would like to transfer all the shares he owns into Kim's hands. He was going to watch for a while longer, But now he was sure that he would handle everything perfectly. This may be Taesong's last gift in life. In his past life, he did not give up his shares to anyone until his death. Daesong owns shares in most of the country's companies. He effectively handed over the fate of Korean corporations to Kim. Samsung Corporation President Norman Lane was clearly told that the financial system would not be changed for at least another couple of years. The chief secretary did not think the president would take such a step. Their people in the Blue House did not make contact. If Ray wants to retire, let him say so. Norman will arrange for him to have an indefinite vacation in a comfortable coffin. Ray is very sorry. Norman asks what about the secret fund. About 300 billion were frozen. They can still trace accounts under the names of employees and their family members, but anonymous accounts are gone forever. Ray must try to recover as much money as possible from the fake accounts, or else he should immediately look for a final resting place. Most large corporations did not expect such sudden changes. However, a rumor spread that a month before this, Taesong Liang had been diligently cleaning up his anonymous and fake accounts. So it means he knew about everything in advance and didn't tell them. He dared to stab Norman in the back. So that's why Kim ordered all the shares to be sold. Chester asks how he knew about this. Just a hunch. He pinpointed the 12th of August with precision. It can't be a hunch. Kim will never forget the day her grandfather lost a ton of money at once. He who keeps silent earns more than others. Kim won the argument. Chester must create a bank account in his name. Kim will transfer 10 billion into it. Stop naming such large sums when Chester drinks. All stocks will collapse starting tomorrow. So there will be an opportunity to buy shares of the Samsung company at an extremely low price. You can forget about other promotions. After a couple of days, the commotion will die down and prices will rise again. Before this happens, we need to buy out everything we can. Kim needs a powerful weapon to fight Tyler Lane. A day after the introduction of the real name financial system, banks have been besieged since early morning by people wanting to withdraw money. However, corporations and major figures in the private lending industry cashed out even before the banks opened. When the stock market opened, thousands of shares fell sharply in price. The real game is just beginning. Kim is planning to turn the global crisis to his advantage. Chester thought it would be ground into pate before it opened. Even large corporations did not escape bankruptcy. Chester spent all 10 billion. Basically, everyone was selling. There were people who were circling around him with questions. At noon, Kim will credit another 10 billion. He talks about billions so casually, as if they were worth nothing. Chester might not like it. On the contrary, playing with money is the best entertainment in the world. Once he's finished, let him go to the USA. We'll have to hurry. Kim himself won't be able to travel to the States often. Chester will open an investment company, and Kim will personally fill it with her own money. He will name companies to check. It will be necessary to find them and test the waters for investment. Chester's share will be 5%. Kim will provide him with a life in which he can travel the world in a private jet. Whatever happens, he is with Kim until the end. He wants to name the company himself. It will be called Dream High Investment. The panic caused by the introduction of the new financial system quickly subsided. However, the lending market in Muyongdong was completely paralyzed. It is impossible to withdraw money from bank books. You can't withdraw anything unless the book is signed with your name. Then we need to find people with the right names. Let them do whatever they want, but they will return the money. Kevin immediately found it odd that Chairman Len had been concerned about transferring funds from anonymous accounts a couple of months ago. After all of Kevin's hard work for the family, everything was lost. The three leaders of Muyongdong meet with Kim. They probably know what fate befell Joseph, so they are afraid to provoke Kim further. They seem to be having a hard time with the real name financial system. Thanks to the chairman's timely intervention, the losses were not fatal. There shouldn't be any problems with Taesong's assets, but their personal funds have certainly been seriously damaged. Kim wanted to discuss something frankly, so he came without Director Gray. He asks who they will follow, Kim or Tyler Lane. The introduction of the real name system will significantly change the private lending market. With the future uncertain, even the chairman will consider retiring. That's why Kim asks who they will support. Patrick Neal asks what they will get if they follow him. Kim is here to offer an opportunity, not to bargain. Sean Sang-il stands up. He will follow whoever Chairman Leng chooses. It's time for him to go. Sean leaves. Waiting for the chairman's decision is not a bad choice. They are experienced businessmen of Muyongdong, and without their support, it will be difficult to inherit the chairman's position. All that was left for Kim to do was season the dish they had prepared. If they get in his way, they won't get away with it. Kim asks what they get if they support Tyler. Whatever he promises them, they think he will keep his word. Tyler is definitely not a generous person. This is a greedy and self-centered person. Kim plans to develop his grandfather's business and take it to a new, legitimate level, and the leaders of Muyongdong are at the center of his plans. They need to retrain as a legal company. The moneylender must have the right to demand his interest. With all the restrictions, the matter can become very complicated. This kind of thinking is best left to the small fry. Their companies won't last long if they're labeled as rip-offs. It's no wonder they don't believe it. Up until now, the market has been a haven for lawlessness. But after the introduction of the International Monetary Fund, the private lending market will be legalized. Within 5 years, Kim had organized the business in such a way that the leaders of Muyongdong could talk about it with pride. They will no longer be an underground rabble and will become real, respected businessmen. Kevin is ready to follow Kim. His daughter will soon be 12 years old, and she's already beginning to understand what her father does. In her eyes, it's better to be the president of a company than some shabby creditor. Kim asks what Patrick's answer is. He would like to remain who he is now. Kim doesn't mind if he tells Tyler everything. However, if he tries to interfere with Kim, he will not be able to guarantee him a comfortable retirement. Joseph Yun, Kevin Price, and Patrick Neal are Tyler's arms that Kim always wanted to cut. Tyler asks how long it's been since Harry met with the leaders of Muyongdong. He invited them for a drink a couple of times, but they refused. The father entrusted the management of their affairs to Kim. Perhaps he seriously decided to make him his successor. A father cannot turn away from his own sons for the sake of the offspring of his pathetic daughter. Harry's right, they can't lose to that whore's son. She and Harry have a strong bond and will not hide anything from each other. Of course, they can only trust each other. Some people come in here. Harry is arrested for licensing the slot machine business in a roundabout way. Soon, Tayson learns about his son's arrest. It seems he was arrested for illegally assisting his father-in-law, and bribes to commission members and public figures during the licensing of slot machines came to light. The prosecutor put pressure on the media in advance to shape public opinion on this matter. The district attorney confirmed the involvement of politicians, so the investigation was conducted independently of the influence of higher-ups. It is a fairly well-known case of corruption involving a dozen assembly members, the chief district attorney, and major political figures. In his past life, Harry didn't receive any punishment, but this time he won't get off so easily. The only question now is whether this will be resolved at the regional level or whether the case will be transferred to the chief prosecutor's office. It seems that it will not be possible to avoid charges involving imprisonment. If Taesung uses his connections to get him out, it will seriously damage their case. Perhaps Kim has some ideas on how to help Harry. The current Seoul district prosecutor is Liam Hong. This is the same prosecutor who helped settle the incident in Busan. He is quite capable of taking control of the matter and getting Harry out. If they can reduce the president's influence in this matter, then it is quite possible to achieve a pardon. That idiot Harry dug his own grave. He shouldn't have married a member of a political family. They only seek benefits for themselves. Prosecutor Hong must finish with everyone, starting with Harry's wife's relatives. No mitigating circumstances and suspended sentences. Taesung must demonstrate what happens to those who mess with his family. After receiving instructions from Taesung, Liam Hong immediately took action. Everyone has already confessed to what they did. Harry is only harming himself by continuing to resist. He will speak only in the presence of a lawyer. And here he is. The lawyer came on behalf of the chairman. He needs to talk to the client face to face. The prosecutor leaves. Preventing arrest is extremely difficult. The chairman orders them to wait a moment. Harry will be granted a pardon under special conditions, but he must feign remorse. Father would never say such a thing. They might be able to reach an agreement with the Blue House regarding Harry, but as for his father-in-law, it was unlikely. The chairman ordered that no one involved in this case be allowed to appeal the verdict. Harry will be given 3 years probation, and the case will be referred to in the media as the Harry Lane slot machine case. This is the condition of those in power, but since many high-ranking officials are involved, Harry's name will quickly be forgotten. Because of him, the chairman made concessions to the Blue House. Harry pulled this off behind Tyler's back. He comes to meet Harry. He brought sushi and rolls. It looks like the food here is not very good. But money solves everything. Harry paid a couple of hundred to the guards and he got cigarettes. I wonder what Harry was thinking. He didn't say a word to Tyler. He just conspired with his father-in-law. His name is all over the newspaper headlines. He is declared the swindler of the century, and it seems he has decided to get rich on his own. It was all my father-in-law's fault. He kept saying that no one could handle his money better than his family. He strictly ordered me not to tell anyone anything. Besides, Tyler would get it too. That is, Harry did not say a word to him about the matter involving tens of billions of won. Harry had to do as he was told. He was forced to grovel at the feet of his father-in-law as well as his father and even Tyler. Not only did his father just lock him in here, but Tyler also came just to make him look like a traitor. Everyone is just trying to shit on his head. They are brothers, and it is a precious bond. They must help and trust each other. There's just no need to hide anything. Tyler will visit Harry often and take care of him. This little scoundrel is somehow suspicious. He used to obey, but now he's set his sights on enriching himself unilaterally. Tyler can just use Harry and throw him away. We need to strengthen our positions. A month ago, Kim met with Liam Hong and congratulated him on his promotion. Liam cleverly resolved the deaths of Busan's crime bosses, and in return, Kim helped him secure the position of Seoul's district attorney. Kim asked what he knew about the gambling business, in particular about slot machines. Kim then told him about the corruption case that Harry was involved in. Congressman Nigel Soon, a leading figure in the ruling party, is implicated in the case. Although his party has now withdrawn from office, he remains the most influential man of his time. The prosecutor assigned to this case will face endless pressure and a stream of bribes from influential people. And Kim would very much like Liam to investigate this matter thoroughly. If it is inflated, the Central Bureau of Investigation of the Supreme Prosecutor's Office will certainly try to intercept it. But this cannot be allowed to happen. Otherwise, key figures will escape justice. This is especially true for Congressman Sun and, of course, Harry Lan. There is a grandfather's man based in the Civil Affairs Department. That's why Liam needs to suppress outside influence as much as possible. In other words, Kim is asking him to put his prosecutor career on the line so that Harry gets time. If anything goes wrong, Kim will make it up to you. However, if Liam succeeds, he will be the next Attorney General. The Blue House severely restricts Taeson's actions, so there shouldn't be any problems. All Liam is required to do is leak the information to the media. If this is done, there will be no need to refer the case to the Supreme Prosecutor's Office and the Central Bureau of Investigation. They will do it. This is probably the same promise that Kim mentioned earlier. This is true. It's strange that by paying off his debt, Liam feels like an even bigger debtor. But it is beneficial for both of them. Kim asked him to make sure of one thing when he announced the evidence in the case. The article should be called the Harry Lane Slot Machine Case. In their past lives, the uncles were too inseparable, so that conspiracy against Kim was probably by mutual consent. Because of the incident with the slot machines, Taeson will turn away from Harry first, and then the seeds of discord between the brothers will bear fruit. Harry says he's fine, but it's clear he's having a hard time. Tyler could see the bruises on his face. Perhaps he is worried because he feels responsible. Tyler is rather uncomfortable with the fact that his faithful dog is put on a chain. He will be released next year, but for now let him work for the benefit of the public. Now is not the time to worry about your little brother, and it's even better to refrain from political affairs. But you can't run a private lending market without interacting with politicians. Taeson might have managed it, but Tyler doesn't have his connections. Tae-sung can just hand over the business to him. It's too early for Tyler to do this. But Taeson isn't getting any younger either, and it's unknown what will happen to his life's work if something happens to him. Ultimately, it will be Tyler who will have to take responsibility for their family's property. It seems he wants to get rid of Taeson as soon as possible. In Muyeong-dan, they say that he chose not Tyler as his successor, but that impudent Kim. He doesn't even have the last name of Tae-sung, but he has already slipped into the heir's shoes. Taeson never promised to leave everything to Tyler alone. He is free to dispose of what he has earned with his own hands. The Azure Wind community watches them closely. If Tae-sung changes the succession plan, they will regard him as a black sheep in their ranks. Tyler starts saying something about Megan. Tae-sung told him to keep quiet about it. He doesn't want to see Tyler. If he doesn't leave, Michael will push him out by force. Tyler leaves. We need to finish the stock transfers by next month. Tae-sung asks about the person Kim asked him to introduce to. Michael made inquiries. He will be in Korea in a month. It is believed that family is nothing when it comes to money. No one knows what will happen when Tae-sung retires. Michael thinks he's worried about Kim, but Tae-sung is more afraid that he will crush his uncles. Tyler walks past Kim. If he doesn't want to end up like his parents, it's better not to stand in his way. Kim didn't even think about investigating the death of his parents in his past life, because all talk about his mother was suppressed in the Leng family. But perhaps the Azure Wind community is to blame for their deaths. It is a shadowy organization that manipulates political figures, but there are only rumors about them. If grandfather and uncle discussed them in all seriousness, then they are real. Here is information about the accident with Kim's parents. He asked Paul to ask his father, a police officer, if he had any records of the accident. It was a traffic accident. The driver who crashed into them and fled turned himself in. However, the report said multiple stab wounds were found on the bodies of Kim's parents. In particular, more than 10 wounds were found on his mother's body. But the autopsy results were ignored. The culprit was a bandit, but he was released a year later. Kim has a dream in which a criminal kills his mother. He wakes up. The accident was staged. Most likely, it was Tyler or Harry who did this. They are ready to do anything for money. Kim calls Dan. He asks to find one person. After some time, he comes to meet his friends. They'll order something expensive, and Kim will have to pay since he's late. She and Matthew plan to take their practical exams in February. Lynn can't fully concentrate on her studies yet. Matthew hopes that one annoying guy won't give in on the first try, as usual. Fred had to hire tutors for every subject, and he barely got in. And Terry's family paid for his education an amount comparable to a minister's salary. Kim suggests creating a club so they don't lose each other after graduation. He didn't suggest it just because they got along. Fred's grandfather is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and his father is a respected lawyer. Terry is the son of the head of one of the 3 largest law firms in the country. Lynn would become a judge and later retrain as a lawyer. And at 40 years old, she would become the leader of the ruling party's legislative chamber. To counter the Kim uncles, he needs useful connections. The idea is not bad. Lynn isn't sure she's right for their club. She doesn't have an influential family or resources. For now, they are all just students. In her memoirs, Lynn mentioned the financial difficulties their family went through. Her father died early in an accident, and her mother was often ill. She had to take care of her younger brother and sister. Lynn has to go. She has a tutoring session scheduled. She had never been given a ride in a car like this before. She has 5 lessons today. There are a couple of free hours in the evenings for studying, but of course, it's not easy. It's impressive to combine 5 lessons a day with studying at university. Lynn has been living this lifestyle since high school, and it's never easy to get ahead. If she had gotten here by subway, it would have taken forever. Kim wants to tell her something. No confessions? Let him get in line. If it's not a confession, she listens carefully. She may have been thinking about quitting tutoring and concentrating on her studies. If she doesn't earn money, her family will starve. Kim can solve this issue. He won't give her money just like that. He's confident that Lynn will be able to pay it all back in the future. It just hurts him to see such talent go to waste. Lynn is not a beggar. She can provide for her family and succeed in her studies. Even if Kim is rich, he cannot interfere in the affairs of others. If he continues to talk like this, it will be a burden for Lynn to stay in their club. Kim wants her to listen to him. He was raised by his grandmother, and they had a hard time even paying rent. It was only thanks to his grandfather's support that Kim was able to enter university. He was fortunate to have the opportunity, so he wants to repay that debt by helping others. Lynn will consider his proposal. Kim asks if $2 million a month is enough for her. If more is needed, he is willing to consider additional payments. A new employee at a large company earns about $600,000 a month. Lynn will work hard. From this day on, Kim will provide her with everything she needs. In return, she will rise to the position of leader of the legislative chamber. And when the time comes, she will be his faithful assistant in the battle for the wealth of the Lang family. It must be hard for Paul with all this training from morning until evening. He was already used to this rhythm. He heard that Kim was preparing for the prosecutor's office exam, and his grandfather was probably also getting him to work for him. He is the epitome of busyness, flying to the USA every day. This is on grandfather's orders. Matthew is jealous. He and Paul have never been to the USA. I didn't really want to, unless it was for the Olympics. Paul dedicated himself entirely to training, and a gold medal was a logical goal. After all, he wants to be useful to Kim in the future. Paul has always been just such a friend. The courier knocks on the door. Then Kim notices that Paul is limping. Nothing serious, just a work matter. This is the man Kim asked to be introduced to him. Michael said that you will have to earn his trust on your own. His name is Brandon, and in the past he worked as a bodyguard for the heads of U.S. private military companies in Africa. She and Michael grew up together. Kim needs a performer who follows directions precisely. Brandon doesn't have the slightest idea about it yet, so he can't give a clear answer. He's honest. Kim likes that. He will give Brandon the opportunity to work with him and think things through. Perhaps Michael was once a mercenary too. Brandon has aged a lot. Michael himself is almost gray-haired, but his sharp gaze had not changed at all, just like when they had roamed the battlefield together. It's time for Brandon to quit living the life of a drifter who doesn't know if he'll wake up tomorrow. Michael asks what he thinks of Kim. Brandon will see if he is worth his loyalty. Perhaps Kim is too young to be declared heir. The chairman's will is his business. Kim is more brilliant than Brandon can imagine. Until now, Michael has only called one person outstanding, and that is Tai-sung. Kim and Brandon arrive in New York. Chester calls out to Kim. He seems to be doing just fine. This is Kim's personal secretary and manager, Brandon Miles. Kim is not only strict in appearance, but he has a character to match. They are heading to a place with the most amazing view. The office is still small, but Chester founded the company and wanted to show it to them. Kim sees the Twin Towers with his own eyes for the first time. Chester found the people Kim was talking about. He promised not to interfere with development and management in exchange for them accepting patronage. However, they look like an ordinary startup of a university research lab. In 2 years, the Netscape browser will be valued at a record $8 billion. But Kim plans to sell his stake immediately after the official publication, because it is expected to fall under pressure from its competitor, Microsoft. As for the second request, it is unclear why this person was needed at all. He was kicked out of the company, and his new startup will collapse at any moment. This is 21st century innovator Steve Jobs. Kim and Chester come to his office. If they haven't been assigned one, they need to make an appointment. We must tell the director that his savior crossed the ocean for this meeting. If the secretary says this, he will agree to meet. The secretary calls Steve Jobs. Chester will see for himself that this man will shake the world. In the future, there will hardly be anyone who has not heard of him. But for now, he was kicked out of the Apple company, which he founded, due to his authoritarian management. At the moment, he works at the next IT company. He will buy the animation studio Pixie, which has not yet made a breakthrough and is only suffering losses. Now Kim has only one chance to invest in it. If he's just here to greet Steve, let him go. He has a tough character. Kim knows that he has already spent most of the money he earned from Apple. Soon, they will be begging him to come back. Kim will take on his financial difficulties, investing in both of his companies as much as he has already invested. In exchange, he asks for half the shares of both companies. Steve has no intention of selling his companies. He got it wrong. Kim is not interested in managing them. He only offers to buy out the share for $50 million. Kim is not like those idiots at Apple. Without Steve, neither Pixie nor Next IT are worth anything. He likes Kim, but there are plenty of other investors who want to work with him. They probably just want to buy up companies. It's unlikely that anyone on Wall Street would want to invest $50 million in companies mired in debt. 2 years later, Pixie would achieve resounding success, and this would serve as the basis for the merger of Next IT and Apple. Steve asks what Kim will do if the investment doesn't pay off. Kim will see this as an expense for Steve's talent. $50 million for half of his shares is not enough. Kim won't offer anything else. If necessary, he is ready to invest more, but right now Steve requires no more than $50 million. He agrees. This is Kim's partner, Chester Kahn. Steve will be communicating with him more often. Very soon, the world will completely change under the influence of the internet. With this phone, you can not only make calls, but also listen to music. You won't have to go to stores to buy it anymore. You can do something similar with books, as well as with films and games. Every person in the world will have their own small computer that fits in their pocket. $50 million should be in the OBS account by tomorrow evening. Chester will see the results himself within 2 years. Brandon knocks on the door of the office. Breaking news from Seoul. Kim's friend Paul Hyun-sung has been in an accident and is currently in a coma. Paul didn't want to give up his Olympic victory. They all know how talented he is, but he'll still have plenty of opportunities. But Larry, in his 4th year, if he doesn't play for the national team, he will be drafted into the Army next year. You just need to lose to the elder one time. Paul did not agree. Then the coach ordered to lock the doors of the hall. He started hitting Paul. He decided to contradict his elders, but the trainer could make sure that he never gets into the ring again. The bat broke. The coach ordered a new one to be brought. His assistant tried to calm him down because he could seriously injure Paul. In their time, these guys were way too stuck up. At this rate, Paul might just disappear without a trace, since he knows who Larry's father is. Training is canceled for today. Paul needs to go to the hospital. Larry called out to him. He said not to take the coach's words to heart. He was simply worried about his success. He's really sorry that it happened. He wants to compete fairly in the qualifying competition. Paul was riding his bike when a truck appeared behind him. He was driving straight towards him. Paul jumped off his bike and avoided the hit. Then the truck drove towards him again. It ran over his leg, and this time he knocked him down. Kim comes to the hospital. Paul was found in the middle of the road, and he was only alive because passers-by noticed him in time. Judging by the tire marks, it looks like it was deliberately run over several times. It was not an accident. They tried to kill him. 3 days have passed, but he still hasn't come to his senses. But even if he wakes up, he will no longer be an athlete. It hadn't even been a week since he'd called and asked if Matthew could hang out. But first he had to go to the hospital. Just don't tell his father. He was beaten every day in the sports section. Group punishments are still commonplace in training, but Paul wouldn't be stopped by something like that if he was going to see his friends. Kim has a favor to ask of Brandon. This is Larry Kane. The coach brazenly demanded that Paul throw the qualifying competition, but he flatly refused. For this, he was constantly punished, beaten until he bled. We need to find out everything we can about this Larry Kane. If Paul was run over on purpose, they will pay for it 1,000-fold. To keep his promise to Kim in high school, he trained non-stop, dreaming of an Olympic medal. Kim wanted him to be his partner, someone he could trust completely, but he never asked him to prove anything with titles. Larry Kane is the son of the vice president of the National Judo Association, James Kane. He is also the president of Polar Constructions. This is a fairly well-known company in Chungcheong province, and there are rumors that James Kane used to operate in this province with his gang. Kim asks if Brandon can find the car involved in the crime. There is one way. Paul is a childhood friend. Kim wants to make sure the people who did this to him are held accountable. James asked to play it safe. He said not to let Paul take part, not to run him over. If Ben can't handle such a task, James can't trust him with the business. Ben is the one who made things so complicated, so let him clean up the mess. If he is caught, James's name must not come out. Ben exiled the performers to Gangneung. They don't know anything about James, his name will definitely not come up. It took him 10 years to clear his name. And they made it in life, all thanks to him. Brandon asks to find the car that hit the man. Judging by the tire tracks, he was run over several times. So, Brandon is assigned to work as a detective, which is not his line at all. This is an important matter for his immediate management. Soon, Brandon is given the names of the people involved in the crime. These are ordinary small-time bandits. They tried to make it look like a traffic accident, but they admit that Paul was the target. Kim asks who gave them the order. They will tell you everything. There is no need to force him to ask again. The order was given by Ben Wan-chun. Kim asks who he is and what he does. He sometimes pays them extra for their work. It seems he works for a large company. The executive director of Polar Constructions has the same name. They were paid to run over this guy and then told to lay low in Gangneung. Kim asks how much they were paid. Brandon swings his stick. The bandit will tell everything. Brandon hits him anyway. 500,000 won each. Who would have known that it only costs $1.5 million to destroy a person's life? Kim gets a call from Matthew. Paul woke up. Kim runs to the hospital. Even if Paul recovers, it will be a miracle if he can walk again. I'll have to give up judo. But judo is all he has. Kim calls Brandon and demands that Ben Wan-chun be brought to him immediately. They brought him to the warehouse. Brandon removes the handkerchief from his mouth. Ben from the Jeonju gang? That's right, Ben Wan-chun from Polar Constructions. He's definitely a seasoned bandit, not like the boys who were caught yesterday. It's time for Ben to understand the situation if his head is not for decoration. Brandon hits him. Kim will ask only once who gave him the order to run over Paul Hyun-sung. Ben doesn't seem to understand why this name suddenly came up. Apparently, this was an order from James Kane. Paul refused to lose the tryouts, so James ordered him to be crippled, after which Ben paid off the suckers lying around there to run over Paul. Kim orders everyone to be crippled and sent to the salt mines. Everything was done strictly according to the instructions. Kim needs complete information about Polar Constructions. He calls Dan. We'll have to start a little earlier than planned. Kim comes to meet Dan. I didn't want to make a fool of myself again, so everything was done cleanly. Kim asks if Dan knows James Kane, president of Polar Constructions. He's a thief from Jeonju who used to run a couple of nightclubs and salons, but now he's become the director of a construction company and is playing the big boss. Kim plans to crush him and wants Dan to take over Polar Constructions. He is a difficult opponent. He has the right connections, and it is thanks to them that the thief became a businessman. Kim takes over his connections. Dan must capture Polar Constructions and establish a base there, after which they will proceed with a full-scale capture of Seoul. Dan has just settled here, and Kim is already asking him to start a new war. There's one thing you need to do first. James has a son, Larry. We need to make sure this bastard can't walk anymore. Kim wouldn't have asked for something like that without a reason. Something must have happened, Kim told. Dan will finish by tomorrow. If Paul is a brother to Kim, then he is a brother to him too. Most of Polar Construction's assets are held by James himself and his family members. James has a childhood friend, Martin Black, who is a member of the third-term ruling party caucus. Kim asks if there is any information about corruption in James's business. If you put a serious prosecutor in charge of the investigation, there will be no way to avoid arrest. Brandon can assemble a much more reliable team than Dan. In war, you need weapons of no less caliber than your enemies. This is a war that cannot be avoided. Polar Construction seems like small fry to the goals of a man like Tae-sung. He has nothing to do with it. It's Kim's personal business. The case involves Assembly Representative Martin Black, and Liam's department has no authority to take it on. Liam has to handle this. Kim won't be able to control the case once it gets to the higher authorities. Of course, with the help of his grandfather's connections, this is possible, but Kim wants to take revenge himself. This case has the potential to develop into a huge scandal. Liam will handcuff James within a week, but before that, a small leak of information needs to be created on Martin's part. Kim wouldn't want to limit himself to just handcuffs. Larry said that he had an important competition tomorrow, and he was unlikely to be able to drink. With his skills, he can make the national team with his eyes closed, especially since the loser has already been determined. He resisted until the very end, and this is how it all ended. Paul doesn't know his place. Larry approaches his car. Someone calls out to him. Larry asks who they are. He will find out if he goes with them. Larry tries to resist. It's unclear how he was accepted into a sports school with such skills. Apparently, it won't be possible to settle the matter quietly. Kim is informed that the job is done. Now they will take on James, and then the whole of Seoul. James comes to the hospital to see Larry. He had never seen those guys before, and Ben has disappeared somewhere. It's surprising that Polar Constructions hasn't been shut down yet. Martin Black can be forgotten. The president himself won't save James from trial. Kim calls Dan. The prosecutor will visit Polar Constructions tomorrow. If James tries to escape, have Dan track him down and point out his location. Kim wants to see it collapse personally. The next day, James is informed that the district attorney has arrived at the office. They have a warrant for his arrest. James orders the car to be turned around. This is the very place. There are about 10 people inside. It won't be difficult. Over the years, James has put tons of money in the prosecutor's pockets, and he says he's going to have to figure it out himself. The door breaks under the blow of a hammer. Dan enters with his team. He heard that James was doing well in Jeonju and was even doing well in Seoul. Dan gives the command to attack. His boys get down to business. Everything is ready. Kim can go inside. Dan demands that the assets of Polar Constructions be transferred to him. In exchange, James can go and confess on his own 2 feet. Dan is crazy. He did this to his son. He left one leg intact, but one call is enough to make him disabled. The right people are already on duty at his room. So let James put all the necessary signatures and seals. He hesitates. Dan asks to give him the phone. James will do everything. Everything is ready. If James decides to do something, Dan won't guarantee the safety of his family. It's time to wrap things up. Dan and his boys leave. Now it's Kim's turn. He starts hitting James. He will pay for what he did to his friend. James is grabbed by Brandon. Everyone around him fawned, so he began to think of himself as a god. Only now they will lose everything, and James will be to blame for it. He must remember the guy whose life he recently ruined. Kim is his friend. He starts hitting James again. He asks to spare him. That pathetic, creeping bastard robbed Paul of his future. The police enter. James decides that they have come to his aid, but they are here to arrest him. The names of James Caan and Martin Black were on everyone's lips for the next week. The chief prosecutor impressed by portraying himself as someone who could not be intimidated even by the government. But without the president's permission, representatives of the ruling party are not arrested. Kim came to the hospital to see Paul. He asks if he has heard of Larry Kane. Someone dug up dirt on their family and gave the bastard who ruined Paul's sports career what he deserved. Paul asks why Kim did this. Because of him, Paul ended up in a hospital bed. The judo club is a complete mess. Larry will be left crippled. The coach was arrested for bribery and falsification of competition results. There was no need to go that far. It's not far yet. Kim scares Paul. He has changed a lot. They live in a world where they kill to avoid being killed. Paul is still too young. Kim only used Liam Hong's powers to take down some small construction company and put the bad guys behind bars. Everyone involved in this case was sent to the salt mines. And yet such revenge is a big mistake. Times have changed a lot. That's true, but there are things that never change. Pin down an enemy once and he becomes an eternal threat. If you spared his life, instill real fear in him, the mood of those in power is such that it is not even worth raising the issue of amnesty. Larry was discharged, but he will no longer be able to walk normally. It was Kim Han-yong, the grandson of the moneylender king Daesung Liang. James just squashed a bug from the judo club. When he gets out of prison, they're all doomed. Another prisoner walking towards James walks straight towards him. The policeman who was leading him was left behind. The prisoner did something to James. He hit him with something sharp. James died on the spot. Kim is still so young, and he is already involved in such a case. He must be cruel enough to instill fear in anyone if he wants to compete with the Azure Wind community. Kim owes a great deal to Stephen Bradley. On the contrary, he learned a lot from Kim. The heartless man he knew had come all this way just to show off his grandson. When Stephen first came to him, he threatened that Taesung would have to answer if he did not lend money to build the holding company. Stephen was desperate, so he went overboard. And such an ardent guy ended up going into politics. While elections are ongoing, they ask for money and favors, And after a change of power, they rake in companies. It's better to use money to rule yourself. Stephen won 17% of the vote in the last election, so the president banned him from taking out bank loans. This means he decided to lie low so as not to provoke those in power. At their age, it's time to fade into the background. A few years after Stephen Dayun's death, the group would be torn to shreds by his own children. John Bradley, Stephen's eldest grandson, appears. He will become the president of Dayun Group, which will reunite the disparate parts of the company. John is glad to meet Kim. Stephen asks him to show Taesung's grandson their garden. Kim and John leave. Taesung plans to pass on most of his fortune to his grandson. Neglect of direct descendants can result in a bloodbath. As long as Taesung is alive, there is nothing to worry about. He will leave the dubious share of the owner of the credit business to his sons and let Kim live decently. He flexibly adapts to Taesung's ideas, but if he is firmly convinced of something, he follows it without hesitation. Taesung's sons weren't even close. John heard Kim say that studying was a piece of cake. He said the first thing that came to his mind, and they teased him for a whole year. Kim is taking the prosecutor's office exam. John doesn't have enough points to get into a Korean university, so he'll probably be sent to study abroad. It's hard to imagine the charismatic guy he will become. Tyler and Harry pose no threat to Kim, but the Azure Wind community won't let that go. Stephen joined them during difficult times, which he deeply regrets. Anyone who started a business back then would not dare take a single step without their approval and support. If you try to break free from their circle, they will strike back. John is an unexpectedly down-to-earth, open-minded person. This connection may be useful to Kim in the future. He never comes to class. He's just always ready. Julia appears. She heard that Kim was very busy lately. Grandpa clearly adored him. We must not forget that they are allies. They will see each other again. Kim gets a call from Dan. He found his parents' killer. Kim comes to the restaurant. The waiter says that they are still closed. Ktimu is assigned. You could have just said that you came to get drunk early in the morning. Someone slaps the waiter on the back of the head. Mr. Su is already waiting. This is Hank Sonman. Leo Weiss spent 3 years in prison with him. He had no one, and he rarely talked to anyone. One day Leo asked who had hidden him, and that's how he learned about this story. Dan asks why Hank did it. He was simply offered to give someone a ride for 500,000 won, which was almost 2 months' salary at the time. And then these people offered 10 million for a confession. Kim asks where he is now. He died almost immediately after leaving prison in an accident. If the people who ordered this crap are the real conspirators in this matter, then putting them behind bars is not enough. That guy said that the customers were discussing something. Kim asks to tell him if he knows anything. He said that if anything happens, the Azure Wind community will deal with it. Kim asks if they mentioned anything else. That's all Hank heard, although there was more. Dan did say he would take care of him if his story was useful. The talk was that the main target was the younger sister, who had allegedly crossed the wrong people. She was from the Lang family, and they ordered her to be killed in defiance of all morality. So Tyler and Harry are guilty of the death of Kim's parents. The Tyler he knows isn't that reckless. Maybe Taesung didn't know anything about his involvement, or maybe he had completely turned his back on Kim's mother. He comes to visit his grandmother. The food in Seoul is bland and tough. Kim found his parents' killer. He wants to hunt down these bastards and tear them to pieces. He will finish them off with his own hands. He didn't actually say that. He wants more. The stew is incredibly delicious. You shouldn't tell Grandma about this. Kim will take revenge himself. He leaves for Seoul tomorrow. Upon arrival, he plans to visit the prison to talk to Harry. He comes to meet Kim. He asks where Tyler is. There is nothing strange about a nephew visiting his uncle. He brought him sushi. Having to eat at the same table with Kim made Harry lose his appetite. He'd better sit down if he doesn't want to lose what little privilege he has left in this place. Kim is already acting like the chosen heir. There was no need to act so hostile. He had done nothing wrong to Harry. It was a big mistake to accept Kim into the family. He messed up all their plans. Looks like Harry's going to be cleaning up after his older brother forever. Kim definitely wanted to die. Brandon tells him to sit still. Not only was Harry sent to prison, but Kim also came to mock him. He has a couple of questions. Strange rumors about the death of his parents reached him. Taesung's daughter and son-in-law were killed, and a man with such powers didn't even try to catch the killer. But in the end, they caught the villain. The father found out everything, and the case was closed. Harry himself knows that he has not caught a real conspirator, and that this is not an accident. Perhaps someone made an effort to prevent Taesung from finding out, so he didn't investigate further. Harry does know something after all. So much time has passed. There is no point in finding out anything now. Harry is right about that. There is no evidence left. However, Kim found someone who knew the real conspirator. Harry asks who it is. He should have asked what kind of monster killed his sister, even if he were her real brother. Two people did it. They ordered my mother. The order was given by a man with the same last name as hers, and the consequences were settled by a certain community of the Azure Wind. Tayson wouldn't have left this matter like that if he knew about it. We need to inform him. Harry swears he knows nothing. Then let him tell everything he knows. Kim doesn't want to believe that her mother was killed by her own brothers. If Harry had known anything, he would have done everything he could to prevent it. It's all Tyler in cahoots with the Azure Wind community, and by the time the truth came out, it was all over. Then I had to tell Tayson everything. Even animals don't kill family members. They are worse than beasts. Perhaps these non-humans killed Kim too. If they are ready to kill even his sister, and his nephew is even less of a person to them. If Harry is found out to be lying, Kim will kill him. It turns out that the grandfather really didn't know, and even if he did know, he didn't dare turn away from his sons. I wonder what Tae-sung will do if Kim decides to take revenge against his will. He should get back into the car. It's getting cold. Kim asks what he should do. The way he sees fit. This may lead to conflict with grandfather. Perhaps Kim is afraid that the chairman might know everything and he will lose everything if he goes against him. Kim has nothing to fear. He already died once and came back. Whatever he chooses, Brandon will follow him. Kim reserves the right to stop him if he feels he has gone astray. Kim needs to meet his grandfather. Tae-sung expected him to arrive earlier. Kim visited Harry. He wanted to find out something. Kim asks if Tae-sung knew that his daughter and son-in-law did not die because of the accident. Tyler and Harry are directly involved in this case. All this time, Kim politely called his parents' killers uncles. He understood why in his past life Tae-sung had not pushed him away, because of the guilt he felt towards his mother and the fear he felt towards his sons, who had not hesitated to kill his sister. Grandfather died before he could complete this matter. And in the end, Kim fell victim to these soulless brutes. Tae-sung asks how much he found out. He knows that Tyler or Harry contacted the Azure Wind community to kill Mom, and Dad just got caught in the crossfire. Kim asks what kind of community this is and why they had a hand in his mother's murder. What happened to Megan is Tae-sung's fault. The Azure Wind community is a powerful organization that secretly controls business and politics, and Dae-sung had to enlist their support to open a business. They helped him, but then their demands went too far. He will not give them a single one anymore, but he promised to assist with any of their requests. They've already squeezed all the juices out of him. Stop bothering him with their dealings. They will leave right now, but Tae-sung will regret it. Sometime later, Megan was killed. After this, Tae-sung bowed his head and continued to cooperate, but on the condition that they never lay a finger on his family members again. Megan cut off all ties with him, so Tyler gave away her location, but he was pressured by the Azure Wind community. He was just a pawn. Tae-sung knows full well that this is not true. Even if the Azure Wind community was behind it, Megan's death was beneficial to Tyler and Harry. Kim will never forgive them. Tae-sung jumps up. Kim will sacrifice nothing for revenge. But they are his relatives and Tae-sung's children, and one day they will come for his soul if nothing is done. Then he must deal with them. He is no longer an authority figure for Kim. He is just an old man, frail and alone. He cannot kill his own children. Then let him send them somewhere where Kim will never cross paths with them. If Tae-sung takes everything away from them and makes them realize how vile they have acted, Kim will not kill them. He could kill them now, but he doesn't want to make his grandfather suffer. Kim won't force him, but he will return when he gains enough power to get even with Tae-sung's children. He agrees. He will settle this matter. Kim comes to Matthew. He must have something to drink. Kim drinks soju straight from the bottle. Matthew asks what happened. Kim is simply torn apart from the inside by what was done to his parents. Tae-sung's daughter died and he did nothing, even though he knew it was the work of the Azure Wind community. Michael must despise him too, only he treated Megan like a sister. Tae-sung asks what his chances are if he declares war on the Azure Wind community. Either he or they will have to disappear. Even if a part of the Azure Wind community is defeated, others will immediately appear in their place. You can use the journals, the records of everything that Tae-sung was involved in. All the sins of the politicians and military personnel associated with the Azure Wind community will come to light. Then Michael would rate the chances as 50-50. But if Tae-sung uses the journals, he will lose all the power he has built over the years. Even if he wins, he will lose a lot: money, family, and maybe even his life. The Azure Wind community is just waiting for his death. It will be much easier for them to control Tyler and Harry. They need to take back everything they got from Tae-sung. He intends to deport Tyler abroad and will take on the costs of alimony. The same commanding tone as always. Ray Yeon-gyun is not going to meekly dance to Tae-sung's tune. He wouldn't dare look down on the man who runs the Samson Corporation. It's a family matter, and Tai-sung only asks for understanding. However, he does not advise ignoring his request. Even now, he can support his older brother, Ray. He overcame his disadvantage as the youngest son to take the chairman's chair. If Tai-sung sets his sights on his brother's advancement, it's not hard to guess what the outcome will be. This is not a threat. Tai-sung is just talking about the possible consequences. There's no need to complicate things. Michael will come, Ray will sign the necessary papers, and they will part peacefully. Divorce is a direct statement of the dissolution of their union. Enter Julia and Amanda, Ray's daughter. Chairman Len just called and demanded a divorce between Amanda and Tyler. He told Amanda to sign all the papers today. Director Gray would bring them soon. Amanda doesn't understand what all this means. Tyler hasn't spoken to her much lately, and Ray himself knows what kind of relationship they have. The secretary announces Michael's arrival. He comes in. These are all the necessary papers regarding the divorce proceedings between Tyler and Amanda. Ray is confused about what's going on. Michael is not at liberty to disclose this. Ray tells Amanda to sign everything. At her age, you can't get divorced. Everything can be discussed. This man cannot be convinced of anything. Kim might have something to do with it. Amanda has already been notified. Only Tyler's signature remains. They're all crazy if they think they can arrange his divorce with some papers. This is the chairman's order. He will carry out his plan even without Tyler's signature. Taesong wants to destroy the relationship with Samson Corporation that has been built for 20 years. Tyler and Amanda's wedding took place only so that the Land family could gain control of the largest corporation. Michael is forced to ask Tyler to settle his affairs as soon as possible and prepare to leave the country. Tyler realized it was all because of Kim. Taesung even decided to throw his eldest son out of the country so that everything would go to this bastard. It looks like he has senile dementia. Michael asks to watch your language. But that's not right. Tyler won't agree to disappear from the radar at the snap of a finger. If he has any hopes for the Azure Wind community, let him forget about it. Megan has already severed all ties with her father, just to avoid participating in the race for the inheritance. But Tyler tracked her down and killed her. Everything is not as Michael thinks. It's a misunderstanding. Tyler will go to his father right now and clear this up. Taesung doesn't want to see him. He must sign the divorce papers, and Michael will settle the property division issues. Once everything is ready, Tyler will head to Australia. Michael is nothing more than a servant. The chairman ordered that this matter be settled with a fingerprint, even if it required cutting it off. Tyler signs the papers. Michael will book him a plane to Australia. They can't just throw him Tyler Lane out. It's an urgent matter. He would like to meet right now. They want to throw him out the door empty-handed. So he asks to get rid of the boy. First her younger sister, and now her only son. Tyler is a scarier person than he seems. Kim will soon take over his father's fortune, and it doesn't look like he's ready to cooperate with the Azure Wind community. Taesung is unlikely to accept it if they kill the boy. He will declare war on them and will do anything to win it. Everything has its time, just like this bonsai, which cannot be pruned every day. Only when the branches have grown enough can they be given shape and grace with a few strokes of the scissors. This Kim is just a twig that will be cut off one way or another. Tyler must disappear from the chairman's sight. The head of the Azure Wind community will return him when the time comes. And this time, let Tyler not disappoint him. He will get his way at any cost. Perhaps Kim is so capable that Taesung is ready to hand over his entire fortune to him and give up his own son. They would find out soon enough, and if Taesun decided to ignore them, his head would be the first to roll. Kim wakes up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's time for him to go. Matthew will make him ramen. His stomach is probably feeling a bit sore after last night's drinking. Whatever happens, let Kim do what she thinks is right, and Matthew will help in any way he can. Tyler made it safely to Australia without putting up any resistance. He is definitely not the type to leave it like this. We need to continue to keep a close eye on him. Harry was transferred to Yendongbo prison. All the privileges he enjoyed were revoked. We need to take care of Tyler and Harry's family members and provide them with everything they need. Kim's voice is heard from behind the door. He needed time to think. Taesung doesn't have to worry about him anymore. He wanted to save the family. Kim understands perfectly the fear of losing everything. He will try his best to make sure that the absence of Taesung's sons is not felt so much. From now on, he's going to work as he should. He will start by reviewing all the loan documentation under Taesun's name. He needs to know every detail in this case. After the financial reform, the world will begin to change rapidly. Kim would prefer to stay on the wave. Then he will build an indestructible golden empire that no one can challenge. Taesung asks to give Kim all the documentation related to the business. Kim did it. He has one more request. He wants to know everything that Taesung knows about the Azure Wind community. Tyler and Harry may well be behind Kim's murder in a past life. It is for this reason that Kim cannot simply leave the Azure Wind community. One day, they will come for his soul again. It's better not to try to find out their background, much less fight them. If Kim inherits Taesong's business, a clash with them is inevitable. On top of everything else, they killed his parents. Taeson asks Michael to get the magazine from its hiding place. Michael touches the square on the wall. There is a safe behind it. Kim always suspected that it was hidden somewhere in the office. But after his grandfather died, Tyler said it was empty. Every community member that Taesong gave money to is listed here. The president, the opposition, officials, the military, the police, prosecutors, judges, journalists, even university rectors. Even Taesong doesn't know who runs the Azure Wind community. There are tens of thousands of people in it, and most don't know who they are in the same boat with. Daesung pretended to dutifully provide the money, but he himself kept track of the recipient and how the funds were used. So this journal can be considered an authentic census of the members of the Azure Wind community. This is a powerful weapon for their destruction. Daesung enlisted their help to start a dirty loan sharking business, but even with this magazine, the success rate was only 50%. He was simply waiting for the right moment when he could avenge his daughter. Kim asks to give him this magazine. It will give him an advantage, but there is no escaping the consequences. Kim would only waste his life. Daesung cannot do that. Then Kim will be powerful enough that he will have a 100% chance of success. When that moment comes, you need to give him the magazine. Only if he becomes strong enough. It won't take long. Kim will punish the Azure Wind community for their sins. Taesong had to take the community's secret to the grave. Sooner or later, Kim would have figured it out himself. Someone like him can't sleep peacefully with these thoughts. The Azure Wind community won't leave him alone. Especially the head of the community, Norman Rice. Taesong will not allow him to destroy Kim. He asks to make inquiries about the Azure Wind community. It is obvious that these people are much more powerful than they seemed, and they need to become stronger as quickly as possible. They will pay for killing Kim and his parents. At Polar Constructions, Alan is the boss. There were no problems with the re-registration, but after James Kahn's projects in Jeonju were finished, no new contracts were received. Kim will make sure they get a contract with Dahyun Group. Therefore, it is necessary to refrain from any illegal activity and also to subjugate Yondenbo. Dan removed all the big shots from James's people, leaving only newcomers. If you need money, Kim will provide it, just no drugs. They just moved to Seoul. Maybe they are in too much of a hurry. A large-scale war is coming. The results of the first exam for the prosecutor's office were announced. All 5 of them passed. They deserved it. But Kim did what he wanted, kicked the bucket and still passed. It's time to start preparing for the second exam. They say it's much more difficult than the first. Kim won't give him up. He has no intention of becoming a licensed professional. There's no point in going out of his way for a degree he won't use. Fred thought they were all going to be lawmen. This does not mean that their paths will diverge. Fred's grandfather wanted to meet Kim. Even the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court knows him from somewhere. Terry's father also wants to meet Kim. He said he was the only one of Terry's friends he hadn't seen yet and insisted on meeting. It seems that rumors about Kim have already spread throughout the area. However, that is why he organized this club. The families of Fred and Terry essentially rule the world of lawmen. Grandfather tried to get closer to their circles, but money alone was not enough to win their favor. First, Kim will meet Fred's grandfather and then choose a day to meet Terry's father. Grandfather never showed any interest in Fred's friends. Needing to change the subject quickly, Kim asks if Fred wants to become a prosecutor. Of course, his grandfather wants him to become a judge too. He would like to reach the top himself. Fred's father and brothers became judges, but the more Fred thinks about it, the less he wants to go down that path. Kim is confident that he will succeed in any field. Lynn wants to get some fresh air. She's feeling sick from drinking. She is in Kim's debt and is obliged to succeed. She will easily pass the second exam. It's time to go back. They've probably already been searched for. Lynn takes Kim's hand. She asks if he thinks of her as a woman. Lynn is good both as a woman and as a friend. No guy can resist her. But for now, Kim can't afford a relationship, so he hasn't even thought about it. If he starts dating Lynn, all the effort that got her into his debt will be wasted. Kim had enough women in his past life. He's had enough relationships. Lynn drank too much. You can forget what she said. They won't see each other until the end of the next exam, so they need to drink while they can. During a conversation with Taesong, Kim asks if he knows Martin Green, the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. This is his friend's grandfather. He wants to meet him. Anyone who knows that he sent Tyler abroad probably knows that Kim is Taesung's grandson. For now, he just wants to prove himself. Don't put your finger in Martin's mouth. He won't fall for sweet talk. But still, he invited Kim himself. You can't try to buy his favor. Soon, Kim comes to meet Martin. He headed the court during the coup, but remained impartial and honest. Martin asks Fred to do one little thing. Left alone with Kim, he asks how Chairman Leng is doing. Kim says he is doing great. Then Martin asks why Kim became close to Fred. So, it turns out that he didn't call him out of idle curiosity. He and Fred became friends because they study in the same department. People tend to cling to those whose interests coincide with their own. But Kim and Fred's interests diverge, so Kim simply values their friendship. He's too busy to deliberately hang around people with uncertain futures. That's right, he's so busy that he even sent his uncles away. The heirs of Chairman Leng, who controls the entire lending industry, have given way to his father's 20-year-old grandson, who appeared out of nowhere. Martin wanted to meet him for precisely this reason. Fred said he doesn't plan to take the second prosecutor's exam. It is unlikely that Kim will be able to pass it without careful preparation. Then perhaps he intends to become the king of the underground economy like Chairman Leng. Grandfather wouldn't have liked such speeches. Otherwise, the businessman would have gone bankrupt without his participation. Martin does not look down on him and recognizes his importance as a man of that time. But the fact that he was cruel cannot be denied. In those days, everyone was cruel: politicians, businessmen, lawyers. The world did not fall apart only thanks to those who survived it. Of course, the choice of one's place in society is always up to the individual, but Kim believes that a completely different future awaits them. He speaks as if he still intends to follow in his grandfather's footsteps. That too. But he doesn't want to remain in the shadows. It's time to come out of hiding. Times are changing. This does not mean that the underground will disappear. After all, light always casts shadows, and without shadows, there is no light. Martin thought Fred only liked soft and harmless kids like him. Kim was much more interesting than he expected. He is ready to visit Fred more often to listen to Martin's thoughts. He says that he is just an old man with no real power, wasting his time watching the news. He values honor above money. Pride is most important to him. It provides him with legitimacy, and legitimacy is power. When the International Monetary Fund collapses, Martin will remain a force capable of helping Kim. He believes that Taeson would have gotten along well with Martin if they had met a little earlier. Taesong shudders at the thought of it. Kim finished studying the papers. Most of the deals are unjustifiably risky loans, and he plans to collect every last one of them. After the collapse of the currency fund, all the obligations recorded by grandfather will become waste paper. Many companies exist in debt, and trying to collect all these debts at once is absurd for any businessman. When debtors start to break down, getting their money back becomes difficult, so Kim plans to purge their ranks. The foreign exchange crisis was not sudden, but rather it grew year after year. Taesung asks Michael's opinion. Kim is right in his own way, but their business is not built only on paper. This industry has its own nuances. If Kim needs help, she can contact Michael. Taesung asks what he plans to do with the invested funds. He plans to invest in trustworthy companies and rebuild the risky lending system into a more reliable one. After the currency crisis, companies began to be controlled by bondholders, and now Kim plans to take that helm. The financial crisis in Asian countries was not unexpected. The preconditions for it originated in Mexico. Kim calls Chester and asks how he is doing. Everything is great. Chester hired a team. He fit in well with their company and social network. Kim gets down to business. He asks what will happen if Mexico devalues the peso against the dollar. Mexico will depreciate the peso at the end of the year to boost exports and build up reserves. If this becomes reality, the economy will go downhill. Chester immediately realized where this was leading. Kim did the right thing by recruiting him. 2 peso devaluations are coming just before the new year. That's why Kim asked to establish connections with large companies. On the 20th and 29th of December, you should bet on the peso exchange rate falling. If they fail, they lose 300 million. But if everything goes smoothly, they will turn into trillions. This is all of Kim's funds, except for those he invested in Steve Obe's company. All Chester knows now is that he's a crazy asshole. The deal needs to be concluded before August. There will be elections in Mexico in August. People will start to understand something, and then it will be too late. Chester will call before signing the contract. He can handle it himself. Kim just passed on the information to him. He trusts Chester and asks for the same in return. If Chester can't get the best deal possible, he's not fit for the job. He met with Tom House, CFO of Mangold Sack. Mexico is considered a stable and prosperous country, but then someone claims that its economy will collapse in 6 months. Chester is willing to bet 300 million on it. He saw how they looked at him. They were practically drooling when they imagined the profit volumes. Chester signed a 30-fold percentage. Kim knew he could handle it. Chester exceeds all his expectations. 300 million evaporated in an instant. The chairman of Dahyun Group has resigned from management. Matthew and his team successfully passed the second and third exams to become a prosecutor. The closer it got to December 22nd, the more nervous Kim became. Chester can no longer eat or sleep normally. Everything is going according to plan. Chaos reigned in Mexico, an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate, and armed resistance by indigenous peoples. Even though Kim is scared, there is no turning back. The day X arrived, the 21st of December. Chester is calling. The Mexican government has allowed the peso to fluctuate by up to 13%. Foreign investors began to hastily withdraw their assets. On the 22nd, another devaluation occurred, and the exchange rate fell even further. According to Kim's memory, the peso will bottom in January. Even if he orders Chester to go out the window, he seems to do so. The peso continued to fall in the new year. Now you can sell everything down to the last one. Chester is pleased that the first deal with Mangold Sack went so well. It seems he foresaw all this. Not at all, he's just a simpleton. Everyone was just saying that the peso was overvalued. The chairman calls, their entire team is fired. The profit amounted to 25 billion. That's about 20 trillion won. Kim cannot lose the battle against firms that only guess at the future, while he clearly knows it. 2 years later, the disaster that befell Mexico would also hit Korea. Matthew got in, all thanks to Kim. He will take an academic leave. The prosecutor's courses are important, but without a diploma from a national university, he will also get nowhere. If someone from the junior classes suddenly becomes the attorney general, the traditional order will begin to collapse. In their past lives, they also became lawyers. Kim didn't think that a small incentive would become almost a butterfly effect. Matthew called Paul and congratulated him on successfully passing his exams. After that incident, they didn't communicate with Kim. Paul visits his grandmother every day. They eat together and chat a lot. Tyler hardly leaves the house, only throwing empty bottles of alcohol everywhere. Harry seems to be having a hard time with his lack of privilege. John and Julia are angry with Tayson. They never called him. Kim is back. It seems something happened. It's okay, he can go to his place. Apparently, Taesung regrets cutting off all ties with his children. Kim's phone rings. This is Jane Lan, Harry's only daughter. She studied and lived abroad and had no interest in the family business. Jane would like to meet. Kim managed to forget about her existence. Jane is very sorry. She cries so loudly that people look at them. Kim gives her a handkerchief. Jane blows her nose loudly. She knows what her father and his brother did. If she were Kim, she would not have forgiven her father. She is to blame, so she has nothing to apologize for. Jane is an only child, but John and Julia are always very cold to her. She thought that Kim would behave the same way. She had the courage to meet him though. She's only 17, so she's probably still in the teenage rebellion stage. Jane would like to stay in Korea. Her father is in a difficult situation, and now there are problems in the family. It seems like Kim is to blame for everything. Jane might go back to school, but education systems vary greatly from country to country, and she doesn't even know what to do. Kim heard something about Jane in a past life. It seems she wanted to become a singer, but Harry and grandfather were against it. She thought about trying herself in the music industry. Jane doesn't seem gifted at all, but everyone tells her how well she sings. She is different from the image Kim remembered. Then she should try her hand. If Grandpa objects, Kim will support her. Jane is only 17. She's free to try whatever she wants. Kim is only 4 years older than her, but he talks as if he had lived for another couple of decades. Jane can visit her grandfather with him. He really wants to see her. She missed you so much. Kim asks Brandon what Harry is up to. After being transferred to another prison, he became quiet. Things were hard for him, and he even tried to commit suicide. We must not let him die or get hurt. We need to break him psychologically so that he doesn't even think about returning to his old ways after leaving prison. Kim wants to systematically destroy him morally. Dan reports the complete capture of Yondenbo. Someone promised a lavish meeting in honor of the promotion to Seoul. Dan booked out the entire diner under the tent. It seems like 5 years have passed since we met in the 90s. They will party all night. This is the first time Dan sees Brandon drinking. He's on duty and drinks out of politeness. Kim asks how everything went in Yondenbo. It was even too simple. They only intimidated them, and that was enough. This is probably because they dealt with James beforehand and took over Polar Constructions. People in this field are quick to recognize when someone has big shots behind them. Next, we need to start with small gangs in the west of Seoul. They will move to Gangnam when they become stronger. Chinese groups in Caribbean Dawn must be avoided. Kim asks how Alan is doing. He's not even sure whether he's a lawyer or a simple worker. Dan needs real professionals like Alan. We need to start taking on construction contracts. Kim will contact Dahyun Group and call Alan back. He still combed the market because they couldn't completely rely on Dahyun. Renovations are already underway, especially in the Yondenbo area. Leo is in charge in Busan now. Dan has known him for 10 years. Soon, Korea will be flooded with Japanese yakuza, and they will settle in Busan. We must not let our guard down. Enough chatter, it's time to drink. While Dan is busy expanding the gang, Kim must deal with another businessman. He asks to schedule a meeting with the Muyongdong leaders for tomorrow. Patrick Neal is a bit quiet today. Perhaps he's bothered by the fact that Chairman Leng has retired. Patrick apologizes if he was rude to Kim. He would have simply smashed him with a hammer like Joseph if he hadn't needed Patrick. You need to collect old loans as soon as possible and no new ones. There's a high chance that changes in the law will restrict this business, and until that happens, Patrick would be better off withdrawing his money. He will do as Kim says. Patrick must know the moneylenders of Muyongdong well, and indeed he has good relations with most of them. Then he must strengthen these connections. Brandon heard that Patrick worked for Harry. Muyongdong's leaders have decades of experience and a vast network of clients. Changes in private lending laws are coming, and foreign capital, particularly Japan, will come to the fore. But this time, Kim is going to step in and seize control. He apologizes for the sudden visit. This man is familiar to him from a past life. He is half Japanese with a yakuza background, the leader of the Japanese invasion of the Korean private lending market. According to Japanese documents, his name is Fung Toshiro, and according to Korean documents, Moon Taboom. He secretly infiltrated the Korean private lending market to pave the way for the invasion. Kim can no longer trust Sean Sang-gil. Plans need to be changed urgently. He hadn't been interested in the state of affairs in Muyongdong for a long time, so he came to make up for lost time. Everything is as usual. Their clients are the same people who find it difficult to get loans from banks or official financial companies. Kim doesn't doubt Sean because he knows this world better. An old friend recently came to visit him and offered to introduce him to Kim. This is Moon Tae-beom, the son of Chairman Lane's daughter. Sean even decided to introduce him to Kim. Moon's father is a friend of the president, and Moon met Sean when he was still a child. He is capable of serving Kim well. He doesn't have many bodyguards. It wouldn't hurt to get another one. Sean seems to be trying to plant a yakuza in Kim's entourage. They will see each other again. Kim asks Taesung if he trusts the leaders of Muyongdong. The only person close to him whom he completely trusts is Michael. Kim asks what kind of person Sean Sang-gil is. First of all, reliable, but the most unpredictable of all leaders. Kim suspects that he is a spy for the Azure Wind community. This can't be. Taesun supported him throughout his life. He could very well have been hiding his true nature in order to stay around as long as possible. It's hard to tell what's on his mind, but he doesn't seem particularly cunning. Kim can't shake off her suspicions, so she plans to get rid of him. He can do as he sees fit. Kim leaves Taesung's office. They're going after Sean Sang-gil. Dan is in full combat readiness. Brandon is not much inferior to him. This is their first time working together, so they can't screw it up. Brandon's guys will start storming the office. Dan's task is to prevent outsiders from getting in. Brandon probably doesn't have enough boyfriends. They are all Kim's future guards. They should be able to handle such a task. Let's go. They arrive at the center of Muyongdong. Those standing at the entrance to the building understand that they are in trouble. It was very easy to deal with the two of them. Now not even a fly could slip through here. Now Dan will look at Brandon's abilities. One of the people who was attacked flies into the room where Sean and Fung Toshiro are sitting. Brandon enters with two of his guys. Kim ordered Sean and Moon to be brought, but you could have just said it. Brandon tells us to take them. Moon takes out a dagger. They were found out. Sean will ask for backup. You just need to hold out for a little while. Just don't kill them. Brandon's boys rush to the attack. Moon manages to wound one. He doesn't let him deal the decisive blow. Moon will rip his guts out. Brandon's fighter knocks him to the floor. Meanwhile, the second one fights with Sean. Tom manages to make a successful capture. The guy falls. Sean starts hitting him. He's been breathing the sand of punching bags since he was 10 years old, and he won't give in to some riffraff. His opponent strikes. Then another one. Sean and Moon end up lying on the floor. Cars are approaching the building. Now it's going to be hot. The leader of those who got out of the cars asks whose people are here. The questioner is not mature enough to ask. The shop is closed. They're the Gangnam White Tiger Gang, and they better get lost. The White Tiger Gang can go away and continue to dig minerals out of the navel. The fight begins. The leader heard that the Busan punks had recently taken over Yondenbo, and it looked like it was Dan. It's amazing how they had the courage to venture into their territory from their own village. Dan stops the blow. He beats the leader. This blow was not enough, but the second blow is stronger. Busan hasn't been a village for a long time. They are overwhelmed by numbers. From here, these nits will only leave in parts. Brandon joins Dan. Everything is settled upstairs. This is the White Tiger Gang. They've come to protect Sean. Since they are at the same time, they will also be loved. Dan's boys were seriously injured, but they did their job. If Kim had sent Brandon alone, he could have lost him, but that was the limit of his powers at the moment. Sean, Moon, and the leader of the White Tiger Gang were brought to the warehouse. The White Tiger Gang is the strongest gang in Gangnam, but Muyongdong is Grandpa's territory. They haven't even set foot there. They were the first to enter Muyongdong territory, so this can be considered a declaration of war. We need to stir up the leader a little, but not kill him. They still need him. Brandon tells me to work on his leg. Sean wants to talk to the chairman. This is all one big misunderstanding. Sean planned to finish off Kim by planting the Yakuza behind him, apparently on orders from the Azure Wind community. Grandfather said that he sponsored him since childhood, and that's what he did. He already had a patron after leaving wrestling, and he gave the order to attach himself to the chairman. Kim asks who this man is. It's no wonder the chairman doesn't tell Kim everything. He's dead if he starts digging around about the community leader. This means he can get rid of Kim with a snap of his fingers. For him, Kim is a bug under his feet, and it was he who sent Moon to keep an eye on him. Tyler was the perfect pawn, and then Kim came along and ruined everything. Sean seemed unconditionally devoted to his grandfather. In his past life, Kim did not notice any sins on his part. Let Sean just tell him everything he knows about the Azure Wind community. He won't say anything. Kim orders them to shake everything they can out of him and then kill him. If Moon is released now, he won't hurt anyone. Kim and Feng Toshiro need to have a heart-to-heart talk. Feng himself knows who he is because he was sent for his soul. He planned to wait until his grandfather died to begin his foray into the lender market. Kim asks who gave the order to kill him and what Feng will receive from the Azure Wind community for carrying it out. If he confesses to everything, Kim will be limited to one hand. Feng chooses honor. That is, he would rather die than betray the gang. Kim tells him to let him go. Feng can go, and Kim will spread rumors about how he traded his life for secret information. He will receive a warm welcome in Japan. Feng asks to kill him. If he tells everything he knows, Kim will give him death in the name of honor. Feng agrees. Kim did a great job. Sean had evil intentions. They eliminated the Yakuza named Moon Taebeom, as well as the White Tiger Gang. They ignored the non-interference agreement between Gangnam and Muyongdong. Kim will take care of them once she has strengthened Dan's position. Taesung heard rumors of a major gangland clash in Muyongdong, and he needed to find a scapegoat to settle the matter. Dan said he would handle it. There is no doubt that war cannot be avoided. Kim will tighten the noose slowly. Taesung asks how he knew about Moon Taebeom. Dan said that he had already seen him in Busan, so Kim suspected something was wrong. It never occurred to Taesung that he would get stabbed in the back by Sean. Suddenly, he clutches his heart. He's been looking tired lately. He should go to the hospital. No need. He doesn't want to be called an old man who dragged his grandson around hospital wards, and he already has a number of examinations scheduled. A few days later, a couple of the perpetrators from Dan's gang and the same number from the White Tiger Gang voluntarily surrendered to the police. Sean is accused of attempting to assassinate Kim and of blatantly lying to the chairman. He knows, of course, that the only way to atone for his guilt is death. Kim won't get away with it. The Azure Wind community is huge and powerful. Brandon shoots Sean. He falls into the water. Feng demands to kill him. There's no need to get your hands dirty. Just spread the word that he survived and he'll be torn to shreds. He should think about his family. Brandon leaves. Feng jumped off the cliff. Sean didn't know much, but a man from the community contacted him and gave him the order to put Moon Taebeom with Kim. Tom was ordered to gain his trust and then kill him. If nothing had changed, Sean would have continued to pose as a loyal servant, and the Yakuza would have taken over the local market. A couple of wrong steps, and Kim would have lost everything again. And yet he outplayed them all. Kim doesn't need more security. Brandon is enough for him, and he himself is not one of those who is easily beaten. But he is only willing to allow Brandon into his inner circle. The Azure Wind community will pay dearly for trying to kill Kim. Of the 25 billion earned from peso bets, half is to be left in Dream High, and the rest is to be divided among shell companies. But this is a crime. If Chester gets caught, he'll rot in prison for the rest of his days. That's why the fee is appropriate. Companies need to be used, and they will be able to launder the money so that no one will know who the real owner is. Every day working with Kim is like a roller coaster. Kim comes to Matthew, who wants to have lunch together. Paul enters. He moved to Seoul and is staying with Matthew for now. The leg is normal. The doctor said that it will not cause any problems in everyday life. Kim is grateful that Paul took care of his grandmother. Paul is ashamed in front of him. If something like this happened to Kim or Matthew, he would have taken revenge too. Even if the whole world criticized Kim, Paul, as his friend, had no right. It's time to drink. Matthew is drunk again and is asserting his rights. Kim is clearly in a good mood. Every meeting with friends is a joy to him. In January 1995, Japan was shaken by a massive earthquake. This was followed by a collapse of the yen. US-based hedge funds bought up yen and Japanese government bonds, driving up their market value. When the rate fell to 90 yen to the dollar, Japan entered into an agreement to deliberately lower the yen's value. This agreement became the trigger for the Asian financial crisis. Kim must take this opportunity to seize control of South Korea. He would like to withdraw the funds invested in Hwangbo Group. They took on too much debt. Hwangbo Group is ranked 18th among Korea's major corporations, but despite its outward appearance, it is a shell company. The company's chairman, Yang Tae-ho, bribed officials to ensure that all transactions in special territories were entrusted to him. When this was discovered, he resigned from management to avoid prosecution. His greed will boomerang and completely destroy the company. This is a premature decision. Hwangbo Group has a significant debt, but no more than other large companies. In 2 years, they will go bankrupt due to reckless loans and negligent management. By the end of this year, Korea will face the worst financial crisis in its history, and the Hwangbos will be the first victims. Tae-sung trusts Kim. He can handle everything personally. It's a kind of test. Kim will work with Brandon. Tae-sung orders that all documents regarding Hwangbo be given to his grandson. Kim isn't sure they've come to the right place. The headquarters of the largest corporation is located on the 3rd floor of the shopping center. Tae-sung entrusted Kim with this task, and he will do it properly. So, this is the office of one of the richest corporations in the country. An employee leaves the office. Kim has an appointment with the chairman. He is from Muyongdong. An employee asks to clarify whether the chairman has an appointment. Kim felt like he had entered another dimension. Yang Tae-ho asks how old he is. In his past life, this face was constantly appearing in the news, but in reality, he is even more disgusting. Kim is now in charge of this matter. Quite impressive for such a young man. He's here to settle the issue of the convertible bonds that Yang pledged as collateral for a 5 billion won loan. It's hot, he did say, to serve coffee at the right temperature. There are incompetent idiots all around, and everything is fine with the bonds. Jan pays interest regularly. At the moment, they are urgently collecting debts from all companies. This is impossible. You can't demand your money back so abruptly. Jan's financial situation simply does not allow him to repay the debt. In this case, Kim will convert the bonds or sell Jan's debt obligations to another company. Usually the creditor has the advantage, but the larger the debt, the more power shifts to the debtor. Jan borrowed money during difficult times, but he hardly imagined that this debt would come back to him like a knife to his throat. If Kim converts the bonds and puts them on the market, Yang will have serious problems running the company. Kim had no intention of begging him for money. It's Tae-sung's decision. Jan agreed with him that these bonds would not be converted. He demands to be connected with Chairman Len. His grandson came to him and threatened to sell the convertible bonds if Jan did not repay the debt. When he needed money, he was ready to fall at their feet. But now, when he is given loans from banks and official financial companies, he looks down on a moneylender like Tae-sung. Tae-sung entrusted this matter to Kim. Jan asks how much he wants. 20 billion. Jan borrowed 5 and never missed an interest payment. Kim sells a tool to protect his company, and the seller sets the price of the product. By selling it to someone else, Kim could have gotten much more. 10 billion, in a month Jan will pay double. He is simply a bandit hiding behind the name of a corporation to take out illegal loans and pay bribes. So they didn't come to an agreement. Jan asks to call the financial director to him. It is necessary to outline the situation in essence. At the moment, they are unable to pay 20 billion. If this matter is not settled today, Kim will pass on the debt to others. Hwangbo's stocks, which he inherited from his grandfather, are worth approximately 10 billion won. Together with the bonds, the price will exceed 50 billion. Kim considers this a fair price. The financial director has already said that they don't have that kind of money right now. They have an unregistered plot of land on the territory of a residential complex. They also have another participant, which belongs to Hwanbo Constructions. 2 years later, John will flee abroad, and the tax authorities will try to confiscate this land, but without success. As far as Kim knows, the total value of these plots is about 40 billion won. The choice is up to John, the land or the entire corporation. Kim will build his empire on the property in Daejidong owned by Hwangbo. Enough jokes. Kim only offers a choice. He is the spitting image of Chairman Leng. He drove his relatives away and took their place. Kim will take this as a compliment. Due to Jan's incompetent management, this will reverberate across the entire country in the form of a financial crisis. Kim will send a lawyer today. The land needs to be transferred as soon as possible. He's leaving. Kim needs a competent lawyer and wants Terry to ask his father to recommend someone. Father Terry himself has long wanted to meet Kim. He comes to the best law firm in Korea, Yoon & Kim. Terry's father, Derek Ewan, asks how Chairman Leng is doing. In the legal sphere, everything ultimately comes down to money, so it's impossible not to know it. Derek is the co-founder of the law firm Yoon & Kim, which wins absolutely every case. In order to win, they will resort to tampering with evidence, bribing witnesses, lobbying, and bribery. And these are exactly the kind of legal services that Kim needs. Derek was told that he was looking for a lawyer. Kim wants to get the land in exchange for debt obligations and shares of the Hwangbo Corporation. This property is located in the Eunmi residential complex in Daechidong district and is worth a total of 40 billion won. But the first plot is not registered, so the transfer of ownership will inevitably cause difficulties. As far as Derek knows, Chairman Len has a personal lawyer handling his affairs. Kim is tasked with handling the case himself, so he asks for one of the best specialists to be provided to him. Construction needs to begin on the Daechidong site, but Polar Constructions can't do it alone. Kim needs to see Stephen Bradley. While he was settling the issue with the Hwangbo Corporation bonds, he was offered to pay off part of the debt with land in Daechidong. Kim wants to start construction there, but this is too large a project for his company. And Yang told them that he would rather die than hand over this land. And it wasn't even Taesun who beat him, but his grandson. Kim would like Da-hyun to be the main contractor, as it is a rather problematic area for construction. In other words, they will have to take care of changing the land's intended use themselves. Kim can change it himself, but through Da-hyun it will be faster and more reliable. He would like to complete the work within 3 years. Stephen needs to make one call. He asks Kim to wait outside. We need to continue to maintain a friendly relationship with Chairman Bradley. Someone approaches Kim and asks who he is. Since this girl is asking questions, perhaps she is related to Stephen. His name is Kim Han-young. He came to see the chairman. The girl heard a lot about him from her grandfather and Eugene. Her name is Cindy Harper. Kim doesn't remember there being a girl with that name in Chairman Bradley's family. Apparently, he doesn't know about the engagement. Cindy hopes they get along. Kim doesn't understand what's going on. Their families decided everything, but first they should at least get to know each other better. Cindy is too young. She is already in her final year of school, and next year she will become an adult. Kim doesn't have time to meet anyone right now. Cindy liked him even more than her grandfather had said. He said that Kim is smart, handsome, well-mannered, and much more. But what Cindy liked most was that he would have his own money empire. She's going to Itaewon this weekend. Kim says he's busy. Cindy isn't used to being treated that way. She's very straightforward and energetic, a little flighty, but still she is Stephen's favorite granddaughter. Her parents died in an accident, so she was raised by her grandmother. Stephen would like Kim to take care of her. He arranged everything with Da-hyun. Construction at Daechidong began, and Dung's forces were able to officially establish themselves in Gangnam. However, you can't enter there just because you want to. Dan comes to meet with the leader of the White Tiger gang from Gangnam, Park Jin-gi. You could have just called him and there wouldn't have been all those misunderstandings. Alan sets up a separate seat for Dan. He doesn't want to sit at the same table with Park's lackeys. When important people speak, it is better for the sixes to keep quiet. Park had hoped for a peaceful meeting, but the atmosphere was not right. He tells everyone to get out. Park could not even imagine that it would be possible to capture Yongdonbo so quickly, having arrived from Busan. But going to Gangnam is going too far. They intend to settle in Daechidong and do not want unnecessary fuss, so they take control of this area. If their people clash, the only ones who will benefit are the other two groups in Gangnam. This is the most profitable district of Seoul, but even here the White Tiger is not the sole master. Power is shared between 3 groups. They were the first to venture into Muyongdong, despite the unspoken rule not to go there. If word gets out that Dan has weakened, he won't survive in this world. Then Saesun will declare war on the White Tiger, and it will go on until one of the sides is destroyed. It's time for Dan to go. Park doesn't want to fight, otherwise he wouldn't have called him here. If Saesun continues to act out outside of Daechidong, there will definitely be a war. It is necessary to ensure that the construction will be completed on time. If necessary, it is possible to go over budget. Organized crime wars inevitably lead to mutual destruction. Dan secured their place in Gangnam without any unnecessary bloodshed. Gangnam is divided between 3 gangs, the White Tiger, the Gangnam Gang, and the Hanam Gang, and Brandon found out that they are all funded by the Azure Wind community. Taesung gathered them all to clarify one thing. Kim is his heir, but he won't deprive them of his inheritance, so there's no need to be greedy. He can take away part of them if they covet more. Kim proved himself to be excellent at his grandfather's craft. Although it was not officially announced, Most of Tae-sung's acquaintances already knew that Kim would inherit his business. But now it is voiced at a family meeting. John and Jane are no longer rivals for Kim, and their thirst for revenge cannot consume him. So Tae-sung also gathered them so that Kim would promise not to touch the others. He is going to the USA. He has unfinished business there. Kim leaves Tae-sung's office. So that's how it all happened. But Kim promised to take control of Samson. Julia is not responsible for her father's actions and hopes that this will not interfere with their cooperation. That's right, she's not responsible, but she could have apologized for the sake of decency. She didn't know anything, and she's not like her father. And he already got what he deserved. He will not return to Korea as long as his grandfather is alive. Julia will regard this as consent to further cooperation. Kim thought this fox would play along just to curry favor, but she holds on to her pride to the end. Kim is getting ready to leave. Someone calls out to him. We need to talk. These damn relatives are making scenes for Kim one after another. John apologizes. He didn't know anything about Megan. He understands that in Kim's eyes, he is nothing but a careless piece of trash. John asks for forgiveness on behalf of his father. He doesn't expect Kim to forgive them, but he feels he owes them an apology. Either John has learned to cheat or he is serious. Perhaps you should reconsider your opinion about him and Julia. Netskype is ready to go public. The initial bid per share was $14, but demand has almost doubled the price. Netskype shares could reach $80, but there's no point in holding them for long. They'll inevitably be eaten up by competitors. After the first public sale of shares, you need to start selling them for $40. If they don't sell, you can try other methods. Chester sold the yen a couple of days ago. The total income exceeded 300%. The total profit amounted to $30 billion. Fictitious companies will be ready to operate as early as next year. Chester proposes dividing the assets into 500 fictitious companies and then reassembling them into 12 large ones. More needs to be done. Thousands. The costs for agents will be colossal. It's better this way than going to jail for trying to save money. There's no need to joke about things like that, and let Kim not complain about the checks later. Chester will spend all the money on this. Kim asks to find him a trustworthy person. It must be a U.S. citizen. We need cover for Chester. Kim will settle the money issue. They need someone who will never betray them and is ready to help Chester. Kim wants to trust him, yet she knows better than anyone the terrifying power money has over the mind. If this monster corrupts Chester and he betrays Kim, he will throw him out without hesitation. This is Andrew Gigante, a major New York businessman who invested in Steve Jobs during his career at Apple. The last name Gigante sounds familiar. Kim remembered. Andrew is the eldest son of Vincent Gigante, the boss of the Genovese family, one of the largest mafia families in New York. They are going to release a cartoon in collaboration with Disney. It is called Toy Story. It is the first full-length cartoon with 3D animation. This cartoon made Pixie Studios famous when they were on the verge of ruin. If help is needed, Kim is always willing to invest in Steve. He's nothing like the bureaucrats of Wall Street. It seems that this is true. If Andrew were an investor, he would not give Steve a penny. Steve asks to lend him money. Andrew says that his father will kill him if he invests in such an unpredictable figure. Perhaps Steve's success has something to do with the mafia. He's getting a call from Disney. Steve comes out. Kim looks quite young, but invests impressive amounts of money. He inherited the family business. He seems to be from the same circles as Andrew. The Genovese family is descended from the Luciano Mafia family and is the most legitimate of its kind. They have their own betting and lending business covering all of New York and New Jersey, as well as their own transportation network for freight. Even during his time fighting crime, Vincent Gigante successfully evaded capture. Kim knew Andrew would say this. When Steve was just starting out, the Genovese family helped him out a little with sales, and they've been friends ever since. Steve founded EPOL at a time when the mafia ruled all business in the country. Andrew is pleased to meet such an outstanding young man. The mafia hides behind every legitimate business and is used as a lobbying channel in politics. Connections to the New York Mafia are a huge advantage when doing business. Chester sold the assets of Netflix to Anderson. For now, all Dream High assets need to be invested in NASDAQ. It is necessary to transfer as much work as possible to people you can trust. Kim thinks Chester needs a personal bodyguard. This is a veteran with whom Brandon once worked as a mercenary. His name is Mike, and he is ready to serve Chester with all his might. 3 years ago, Brandon and Michael worked together at Executive Arcoms. This is the leading PMC of that time. We need to make sure Chester is well protected. Perhaps they should start a military company themselves. Brandon will try to negotiate with a couple of experts from Executive Aircoms. Even though their headquarters are based in the US, Korean laws are too restrictive. They cannot avoid clashes with various forces abroad. But first, we need to finish things in Korea. Kim traveled to the United States and only recently returned. Now he is a global figure. In Daijidong, Dahyun is in charge. Construction is going smoothly, but Dan is unsure about the consequences. His guys are constantly running into unknown guys who are sniffing around. We must take this chance to clear Gangnam. They will deal with all 3 gangs and get their hands on him. If you hesitate, they will strike at any moment. Taking Busan is one thing, but the scale of Gangnam is on a whole other level. It will take twice as many people as they have. And even if they succeed, they won't be able to run everything. They will be like a shrimp trying to swallow a whale. Kim will take care of everything. We just need to gather people from Busan and set a date. Kim is dating Liam Hong. He gained widespread public recognition for the slot machine case and is now a candidate for the Department of Justice. It seems he has even attracted attention in political circles. He is quite worthy of occupying the highest position in the prosecutor's office, and from there, it is never too late to go into politics. Kim asks if Liam knows the specific person who investigated the slot machine case. He is in Choju now. Kim wants to transfer him to the Central District of Seoul. All 3 gangs of Gangnam need to be eliminated. This is not an easy task. These gangs have quite close connections in political circles. But Liam still planned to arrest the retired presidents. These are former presidents Chun Do-won and Ray Tae-woo during the military coup and the massacre at the Democracy Rally. Even with the entire punitive detachment, they won't be able to do anything. These aren't just street thugs, but gangs of national scale. Kim will make it possible. Liam just needs to get ready. On the day X, the arrest of the retired presidents will take place. We need to split the people up and raid the key points. The prosecutor's punitive detachment will strike at the same time. We'll have to prepare a scapegoat. Dan said that there is a governor in Busan who is in charge of affairs, and he can be made the scapegoat. He and Dan have been friends since childhood, and Kim wants him to set him up. Kim will give him the maximum leniency possible. They are going to take Gangnam and must be prepared to make such sacrifices. Dan agrees, but let the sentence be mitigated as much as possible. Not only the Gangnam gangsters will suffer, but also Dan's guys. Kim is back. Jane is here too. Thanks to her, peace and grace reign in the house. It seems that what Taesung truly loves is not money, but the little joys of family. Peaceful time flew by quickly. Kim gets a call from Dan. The police packed everyone up. For the first time in the history of the Constitution, 2 former presidents were arrested at once. With the media's attention focused on the incident, Dan was able to calmly take control of Gangnam. During the arrest of the presidents, the gang of the chairman's grandson Leng took over Gangnam. Without this area, the Azure Wind community will suffer significant losses. Kim is going to meet up with friends and have a drink. No need to wait for him. Brandon can go and unwind. He notices something and calls out to Kim. A truck is driving straight towards him. He knocked him down. Dan runs to the hospital. He was told that Kim was hit by a truck. Everything is fine, he just hit his head. Dan asks who did it. The truck hit Kim and crashed into a pole. The driver got out of the cab. Brandon gave chase. The driver hit him, but it didn't hurt Brandon. He asked the bandit who sent him, and he began to insist that he was simply drunk. If he doesn't tell now, Brandon will make him regret it for the rest of his life. The bandit grabbed the knife. Brandon dodged the blow. He pounced on the bandit. The interrogation will be conducted right now. The bandit swallowed the pill. Brandon demanded that she spit it out, but it was already too late. Brandon found out that he was a simple worker, but who hired him is unknown. There aren't many guys in Gangnam who would do something like that. Maybe it's the Azure Wind community. It seems the danger is real now. There are no serious injuries, but you will have to stay in the hospital for a couple of days. It's probably all because Kim has taken over Gangnam. Taesung needs to go somewhere. He got old. Like Lester, they first met when they were in their 20s. I think Taeson said he wouldn't set foot here again. He must have something to say. If Lester touches his grandson, there will be war. Lester has no idea what he's talking about. If anything happens to Kim, the Azure Wind community will face retribution. Taesung will no longer remain silent, as he did 20 years ago when Megan died. He vows to destroy the Azure Wind community. Yes, Lester killed his daughter, but her location was revealed by Taeson's sons, and besides, she cut all ties with the family. Taeson turned away from them, and his children came to them of their own free will. If he had had the strength to challenge them, he would have stood up for his daughter then. But he wanted to protect his children, those who betrayed him. Lester planned to take on Kim when Taesung died. Only recently Kim has become annoying, so Lester won't stand on ceremony with him. Taesung has already lost so much, all he has left is Kim. If he's gone too, Taesung has nothing to lose. He may not be able to overcome the entire community of the Azure Wind, but he could easily rip Lester's arms and legs off, cut him up and eat him whole. It had been a long time since Lester had seen him so belligerent. As long as Tae-sung is alive, he won't touch Kim. But if he crosses the line, don't blame Lester. He won't have to sacrifice anything to drag Taesun to hell. Kim should try not to create problems in Seoul for now. It's clear that this whole thing is about the Azure Wind community. This incident was a warning. Tae-sung doesn't want to lose him either. Dan congratulates Kim on his discharge. It heals on him like on a dog. Dan still has an old scar from the blade that aches. He went through a lot, captured Gangnam, but Kim himself handed it to him on a silver platter. We need to give the right guys positions and let them run legitimate businesses. The more people there are, the more difficult it is to control them. They also deal in drugs. No prohibited drugs. They can't just be banned. Some Chinese dealers have already gotten into the habit of pushing their goods everywhere. Let them play. At the right moment, they will press them. We must try to conduct business quietly. But it is unlikely that everything will settle down if we remain quiet. 3 major gangs in Gangnam have disappeared, and it's unclear who will strike next. Northern Seoul and southwestern gangs are at each other's throats. And then some Buzanites took over the central part of Gangnam. Then you need to take advantage of the chance and put everyone under pressure. They will unite Seoul not through war, but through negotiations. Just like the Genovese family, if they can come to an agreement and split the profits while keeping them in line, then any issue can be resolved quietly. In this way, direct conflicts with the Azure Wind community can be avoided. If they can unite Seoul under one gang, they will control 2 cities at once, the capital and Busan. In the future, it will be possible to unite the entire country under one flag and force any Korean organization to obey it. After the currency crisis, the Blue Wind community will begin to attract foreign capital. If Kim does not increase his strength by then, he will not be able to stop them. Someone calls out to Kim. This is Cindy. Her friend had urgent business. Maybe Kim would treat her to dinner. It's strange why a high school student would wander around at night. As if they can't eat after 11 at night. Cindy wants pizza or pasta. Kim ordered her a pizza. Cindy has to go home. Her grandfather will worry. He will calm down as soon as he finds out that she spent the evening with Kim. And if she says that it was also the night, he will be doubly happy. It started snowing. When Cindy is with Kim, she is truly at ease. She doesn't have to pretend anything. She kisses him on the cheek. Next time, she's the one giving the treat. Brandon mentioned a car that was tailing them. It immediately vanished when he connected another machine to the surveillance. Wherever Kim goes, he's accompanied by 2 more cars. Eric Clark had heard of him, but didn't expect him to be so young. Eric brought with him skilled naval veterans. He asks what kind of company Kim wants to start. He needs a reliable company that will guarantee safety for him and his people. A simple security company could have handled this. Kim needs the strongest and most reliable people, and he is planning on a global scale. They will need at least a general. The US military is more conservative than it might seem. The battlefield is not an issue, but the local military structure has its nuances. There are 2 suitable candidates, both of whom have a voice in Washington political circles. But recruiting them will require some investment. If these are reliable people, the price does not matter. Then Eric would hire both of them. As the dark-haired man said, Kim is a straightforward person who is pleasant to deal with. Blackie is Brandon's nickname from his days as a mercenary. Another important aspect is equipment. Training is worthless if the weapon is outdated. There are 2 options. A company that buys and sells equipment or agents with their own equipment. Agents have their own sources. Eric would prefer company. It won't be cheap, but the greater the investment, the more loyal the military. You need to take the best from the start. Regarding payment, Eric can contact Kim's partner in the US. Kim hopes everything goes well with the shell companies. He'll be very busy next year. There will be more work. The shortage of people will be more noticeable. It seems that Paul's leg has fully recovered. He may not be an athlete, but he is ready to train all his life. Studying is not for him. He is thinking about returning to Busan and helping his mother with her restaurant. Kim offers to help him in business. He has a lot to do and not many people he can trust. He needs someone to keep an eye on the performers in Muyongdong. If Paul doesn't like it, he doesn't insist. Paul agrees. This is Kim's business. He can't help but help. Working in the office is just the beginning. They still have a lot to do. In 1996, Korea faced a record budget deficit. Moreover, small businesses collapsed. Yang Taiho begs Taesung to help him. He is the only one you can turn to. Even the banks have stopped issuing loans. Jan asks to buy his bonds. He went too far, and now he is urgently selling bonds and even branches. Banks deferred payments for him, providing reserve funds, but now they are gone. His company is no longer under Taesung's control. He will talk to Kim and contact him. Most likely, Kim will refuse to help Yang. Exactly what he predicted happened. It seems like Taesung will still enjoy the show in his old age. Chairman Huang Bo wanted to borrow money, but it was too late. All his sources of income had been blocked. This is just the beginning. Even Samson and Da-hyun groups are under threat. The trade deficit will reach $20 billion. The economy will collapse very soon. That is the price of 4 decades of uncontrolled growth. Huangbo Corporation, one of the country's top 14 largest companies, was unable to cover its $200 billion debt and found itself on the brink of bankruptcy. They tried to borrow $300 billion from private lenders, but everyone refused. They are only willing to help John resign. He built this company from scratch. They have no right. The ruling party is no help either. They fear scandals on the eve of the elections. Huangbo supports thousands of contract workers and jobs. People who are left without work will not say thank you. If Huangbo falls, the whole country will go downhill. They borrowed trillions and nothing. Borrowing $300 billion is not a problem. But the creditors remained adamant. Yang comes to Taesung. Kim comes out to him. Taesun isn't feeling well, so he entrusted this matter to him. If John doesn't want to talk to him, he can just leave. Huangbo's stock price has hit rock bottom. Kim already knows that all creditors have refused Yan. Huangbo's company was unable to pay even $5 billion and was forced to sign a confiscation agreement. But this was only the beginning. If John needs money, let him offer something else. Kim will buy his property for $200 billion. All the big companies are just waiting for his collapse. No one is going to help. Jan agrees, but he still won't see the money. There are 3 days left until the official bankruptcy. Once he signs the deal, all the money will end up in the hands of creditors. If Huangbo have already fallen apart, it's hard to imagine what awaits them next. Bankruptcies will rain down one after another. A catastrophe is coming. As soon as Huangbo fell apart, the hyenas came running. Chairman Bradley has retired, but he is the leader of Da-hyun Group. In such cases, all powers remain with him. Ray Young-kyung and Park Taylor will share Huangbo themselves. Samson will take the construction companies, and Chang will take the metallurgical plants. Stephen is already not in good standing with the authorities. They made this decision in his own interests. They will regret this. Before this meeting, Kim came to see Stephen. He wanted to warn him not to push Huangbo too hard. After all, he wants to take over their metallurgical plants. Kim saw through him. The thing is, these are not golden eggs, but a poisoned apple. If Stephen swallows it, Da-hyun will be in danger. But the government will write off all the company's debts if it invests in development. The profits will be colossal. Kim has already bought Huangbo's lands, including construction projects and steel plants. The company's total debt is $5 trillion, and any buyout company would face a monstrous risk. Anyone who buys out Huangbo's assets will deeply regret it. Britain returned rights to Hong Kong to China. Many foreign companies and banks that have established themselves there have made it a hub for international trade and logistics. Ava Ju woke up. In her dream, a prince on a white horse made her an incredible proposal, and it seems it was not a dream. The night before, Ava had problems. Everyone refused to lend her money. She needs to hire a lawyer before tomorrow, otherwise she faces prison. Then Kim appeared. He knew her name. A couple of days ago, he tried to contact her through HSB. She was previously an international translation manager who was fired for helping clients avoid taxes. The HSB company is suspected of laundering colossal sums of money earned illegally. Ava was charged with money laundering, but in reality, she was just a victim of circumstances. She thought Kim was from the police. Not only was she fired for nothing, but she was also accused, and now she is forced to call friends to find money for a lawyer. Kim is here to offer her help. In a past life, Eva was an employee of HSB when the company was bought by a private fund. After the IMF crisis, Eva launched a ruthless raid in Korea, buying up real estate, companies, anything of value, using money, power, and even her body. Her investment paid off 20-fold, after which she left Korea. Kim doesn't have a boss, he just needs Eva. Let her work for him, and he will find the best lawyers in Hong Kong for her. She will lead the invasion of the Korean market that is coming this year. Soon, Korea will be forced to sell valuable property, companies, land, gold, even people. Ava's task is to buy everything for Kim, everything that she wants. Ava asks why her. Firstly, her colorful appearance. Secondly, her loyalty. She never turned away from her clients. Ava asks what the name of Kim's company is. She will choose the name herself, and the capital will be established by 5 investor firms. So there is no real company. Ava will build it from scratch. She can hire whoever she wants or buy out an existing company. It sounds too good. Kim is a foreigner she's known for 5 minutes. The choice is hers. Trust him or continue going through the numbers in her address book. Then they will get to know each other better this evening. Kim needs to go back to Korea. He hands Eva an envelope. There's $1 million in it. This is her contract bonus. First, she needs to sort out her affairs. She should try to get to Korea by autumn. This is Kim's credit card. In Korea, Eva will get hers, even better than this one. Once restrictions are eased after the crisis, it will reveal its full potential. The bankruptcy of the Hwangbo Corporation shocked the government, and Chairman Taiho was investigated and arrested. The scandal, which has engulfed political and financial circles, has triggered a wave of bankruptcies among smaller corporations. In connection with the elections, the government tried to mask the crisis, citing the expert opinion of the IMF leader. They all insisted that such talk was just conspiracy theories, but scammers all over the world had already sensed the coming financial collapse. Given Kim's busy schedule, he's a frequent visitor to Liam Hong's house. After all, the prosecutor has a bright future ahead of him. The prosecutor's office will soon have unprecedented power, and Kim needs Liam to keep things under control during this crisis. Rumors reached Kim that the president's eldest son was involved in the Hwangbo investigation. He borrowed too much money, so now there is no way to get out of it. But it is still unknown what the authorities have in mind. You can't dance to their tune, you need to think long-term. The president has less than a year left in office, and yet he appointed Liam as Attorney General, so he'll pretend to play along. Kim is confident that he will do everything right, but first he needs to deal with Hwangbo. They say that the Changwoo Corporation is not far behind them. They were slowly destroyed by accumulated cases of fraud, embezzlement, and corruption. Soon they will be drowning in debt, and there will be nothing left for Kim to do. He will have to intervene in the course of events. If you search, you will inevitably find tons of complaints from their performers. This case could determine Liam's future career. The target is not easy, and difficulties may arise. It is more likely that one of Kim's friends is interested in this, rather than Kim himself. Liam's role will be critical. The coming economic crisis will not be resolved so easily. If he can stand firm and get to the bottom of the truth, the Blue House will become his home. Given Liam's popularity among the people, he could well compete for the position of president. Kim got hold of some delicious apples and loaded a couple of boxes into his trunk. If Liam continues to follow Kim's path, he will definitely lead the Blue House one day. Of course, once he gets there, he will become his puppet. With him, Kim will have powerful leverage in the prosecutor's office and politics. They haven't seen each other for a long time. It was time for them all to retire. They heard that Tayson also left everything to his grandson. He seems like a difficult guy. If it came to that, he wanted to greet them all personally. These people occupy the top publications of the Korean press. Once an instrument of the military regime, the press now manipulates public opinion solely for profit, and these people are the unofficial rulers of Korea. The Korean press shapes public opinion. If you cross them, you are doomed. Even now, the economic crisis is being masked because they lull the public's vigilance. If Kim can use them correctly, he can turn public opinion to his advantage. He asked his grandfather to arrange this meeting because he wants to continue the cooperation established between them. Most of them have handed over the reins to their children and are now resting on their laurels. Kim believes that Korea remains resilient only because of their hard work. He would sincerely like to enlist their support. One of them gives Kim a business card. She is empty. These people need no introduction. Their authority goes beyond their mere name. And Kim has as many as 5 of these business cards. It is a powerful weapon that can change public sentiment. One day they will all bow before Kim. The performers claim that even with government support, the company would only have lasted a couple of months. Jan is the owner of the company, and he understands financial matters, not the errand boys. The rude remark, made at a state meeting and broadcast live, sparked public outrage. The government subpoenaed representatives of Samsung and Changwoo Corporation, and they were forced to agree to a deal without any debt relief. In her past life, the Hwangbo steel mills were bought out by Dahyun, and the 5 trillion debt drained them dry. Samsung and Changwoo will take most of the damage. You can just watch and enjoy the outcome. If it weren't for Kim, Stephen would have been in big trouble. He heard that the Kia company is also on shaky ground. This is not a family business, but an office managed by professionals. When a company is run by the founder's wealthy offspring, it becomes a problem. Samson's desire to take over Kia Motors has long been no secret. Stephen knows this, but there is no way or reason to prevent it. Kia Motors will join Dahyun. We just need to let Samson make his move, and after the change of government, it will be Stephen's turn. But it is obvious that the ruling party will win, and they support Samson. The ruling party will fall apart, and this will play into the hands of the opposition. The party's current candidate does not get along with the president, and the latter will not support him. Most conglomerates are betting on the ruling party. Stephen asks about Cindy. Kim says they sometimes cross paths. You need to meet her more often. Youth is fleeting. Brandon asks why Kim puts so much effort into Dahyun. He needs something from them, so he prepares the ground in advance. Very soon, they will become serious competitors to Samsung Electronics. The crisis continued to gather momentum, with Jimbo, a company known for its soju, and Sanbo, Korea's top bakery chain, going bankrupt. At this time, Kim turned his attention to Thailand. It looks like hedge funds are about to hit the Thai baht. Now they are ready to mobilize $5 billion. The rest is in reserve. We need to take out a loan based on our reserves and increase the amount to $10 billion. They will pour all the funds into 6 companies. Another all-in move. Knowing the future does not guarantee a sure investment. George Solis, chief executive of the Quantum Fund, predicted the collapse of the pound and made a fortune of $1 billion in one day. They say that in Mexico and Japan, an unknown person made a lot of money. I think it's the Dream High company. This is a new company, but their solutions are quite solid. They simply copied George's setup and raked in all the profits. The official manager is James Han, but 99% of the assets are owned by a man named Charlie Kim. As far as we know, James Han is Korean. Something's wrong here. Dream High needs to be kept an eye on. These guys are one step ahead of George. Options are games of chance in which controversial issues are bought and sold. Dream High needs to bet $1 million on the baht's fall and $2 billion on its rise through fictitious companies. The attack on the Thai baht is about to begin, led by George Solis and Wall Street hedge funds. Hedge fund leaders and big banks have mobilized their dealers to attack the baht. The price is falling, the attack has begun. In a global currency market where trillions of dollars change hands every day, a couple of billions dumped by hedge funds may seem like a drop in the ocean. Speculators convince people that the baht will soon collapse, while they themselves quietly celebrate their victory. But the baht will not collapse so easily. One call from Thailand's central bank in Singapore, Malaysia, and Hong Kong came to the defense. Chester didn't foresee this. The baht withstood the onslaught of Wall Street. On May 22nd, the Thai government banned foreign banks from selling baht abroad. It won't collapse. The hedge fund union will be crushed. The Bangkok battle is known as the precursor to the Asian financial crisis, but so far events are unfolding as Kim remembered. Next, you need to bet on a fall. The Thai government won't last long. Hedge funds prepared for another strike, but the ones that had been burned panicked and dumped their options on the market at half price. The baht is bound to collapse. They need to buy back everything they can, but they are already suffering colossal losses. Someone is buying up all the positions on the collapse of the baht. This is Dream High. Hedge funds have offered to cooperate and are joining the attack on the baht from today. Wall Street is more secretive than people think, and building relationships with them is a huge achievement. This place must belong to Kim. Maybe they're just curious about who he really is. They will find out sooner or later, but Kim would like to postpone this moment. They bet $4 billion on Thailand to win, and the profit exceeded 500%. Now we need to bet on a decline on all positions. During the stalled attack on the baht, Thailand replaced its finance minister, a theoretical economist who tried to breathe life into the country's economy by forcing all the weak banks into bankruptcy. But Thailand depleted its overseas reserves trying to defend the baht and was ultimately defeated. The baht has reached 30. The probable profit will exceed 600%. It's time to close up shop. Chester should wait for the signal and then sell. Hedge funds face another battle, this time against speculators. Chester sold everything 3 hours before the stock market closed. The profit amounted to $100 billion. Even Kim didn't expect this. He took half of the profit that should have gone to hedge funds. For now, it's worth backing off from the upcoming attack on Malaysia, Taiwan, and the Philippines and focusing on Korea. After all, what happened in Thailand will soon fall upon her too. Kia Motors went bankrupt. Even a dozen of Korea's richest enterprises were in danger. Government measures were insufficient, and politicians and businessmen were doing their best to save themselves. Eva Ju arrived in Korea. Kim meets her. You should have seen the faces of those assholes from HSB when their plan to put Eva behind bars failed. She's not hungry. We can go straight to the hotel. First, you need to look in one place. The building is completely new. The interior is not finished yet, but it is partially ready for use. This is Eva's new office. From here, they will buy up all Korean real estate. The building in Daejeon will become the base for the purchase of all of Korea. Eva will be the official face, while Kim will operate from the shadows. Seoul has grown quite a bit, and the night view from the window is no less impressive than Hong Kong's. It's hard to believe that such a city will soon be forced to sell off its assets. No one is immune from hedge funds. The Korean economy is a sandcastle built on debt. Wall Street will tear Asia to pieces by the end of this year. This building doesn't have a name yet. Eva will choose the name for it. It's so romantic to let a woman name your building. She will call it the Future Investment Company. Workers will be needed to start the business. Ava has someone in mind. Kim trusts her with everything. She will be very busy. She won't even be able to see him. But it's even better this way. People shouldn't notice him. He can stay with Eva at least for this night. Kim agrees. The Minister of Finance called Taesung. He asked to inject dollars into the market. It seems that foreign reserves were depleted in an instant. The government wants to keep 300 billion in circulation, but they must understand the rate of loss. If Taesung's dollar supply had been enough to stop the crisis, it would have helped. It would be smarter to hold on to the dollars and borrow them later. However, the minister actually gave the order, citing pressure from his superiors. The government is too bogged down in politics. They ignore warnings from the National Bank and delay urgent reports. Banks are recklessly borrowing money from the US and Japan and investing in Southeast Asia and Korean corporations. Korea wasn't just being brought down by Wall Street. The country had its own time bomb within it. And her timer is already running out. There were no calls from the top 10 corporations. You just have to wait. Soon they will be lining up begging for money. We need to take large stakes in their core businesses and branches, or force them to issue convertible bonds. And let Taesung refuse the officials' demands. The current government is doomed. The crisis has already begun, and there are 3 months left until the elections. The ruling party will be divided into the Conservatives, led by Sam Daegu, and the Patriots Party, led by Chung Chung-gun, who has broken away from the former. This makes candidate Kim Hak-won, a representative of the Progressive Party, the favorite in the upcoming elections. These are serious changes, and Taesung has already secured the support of Kim Hak-won. But the ruling party still has a chance. Not this time. The opposition will win. Kim calls Chester and asks how much money is in the company in Bermuda. About 10 billion. As soon as the market opens, we need to invest everything in South Korea. Chester must bet that the exchange rate will rise to 2001 and the stock market will fall below 400. It's like betting on Korea going bankrupt. Big changes are coming, and this is just the beginning. Chester should invest where Kim says no questions asked. If personal feelings prevent him from making money from the collapse of his own country, then others will profit from it. In his past life, Kim blew this chance. He had no experience, no information, no money. This time he will get everything. But before attacking Korea, there is something else that needs to be done. He will attack the USA. Thailand's fall was just the beginning. After the hedge fund attack, Indonesia's exchange rate also collapsed. It was followed by Malaysia and Taiwan. Even the US market is unstable due to the Asian crisis, but they were ready for it. The employees are nervous. They are all shareholders. We need to tell them to get ready to take on Hong Kong. But hedge funds have already set their sights on it. It has begun. The entire Asian currency and stock market collapsed, and the hedge funds and speculators who bet on it got rich. Hong Kong is the next target, but it's a tough nut to crack. If Hong Kong appreciates to defend its currency, it will start to accumulate, which will impact the property market, allowing hedge funds to get rich. Kim tells Chester to invest 5 billion. The employees are expected to act according to the hedge fund plan, while Kim and Chester will act independently. Hong Kong will not be their target. There is bigger prey. And so the hedge fund attack on Hong Kong's currency has begun. Hong Kong has a significant amount of foreign currency reserves, which is why they are holding up so well. But there is a limit to everything, and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority will soon step in. They will bet all their money in branches that the stock market in the US, Europe, and Japan will soon collapse. While history remains unchanged, Kim will take another big step. So DreamHigh are acting weird. Since yesterday, they have been betting on the collapse of every position on the market. It can't be profitable unless the world collapses. We must repeat after DreamHigh. But they have already taken over all the profitable options. We still need to buy everything we can. George needs to figure out what's going on. Kim is waiting for a call from Chester. The phone is ringing. Chester says everything is bad. In Hong Kong, the short selling percentage was raised from 9 to 300, and the hedge fund attack failed. You just need to sell your existing shares, and if that's not enough, borrow assets from other brokers. A massive collapse of prices on the global market is coming very soon. The small loss is worth the gain they will make from another bet. The New York stock market has suspended trading. Europe and Japan also experienced a collapse, with short-term options skyrocketing in price. Hong Kong's rate hike shocked everyone, and the fear Kim created forced them to sell even faster. Starting tomorrow, we need to carefully buy back the assets. In a few days, Chester would become a Wall Street legend. But Kim did it all. In a previous life, the New York market collapsed by 7%, and after Kim's intervention, by as much as 15%. This was the first time something like this had happened in US history. We need to sell everything at once. Given their stocks, this will take time. They have about 500 billion. Victory goes to Kim, but even this is only the beginning. With such overwhelming monetary assets, he will rise above everyone. There is one man behind the market collapse. He is a citizen of South Korea. In the market crash, almost every Wall Street investor suffered losses, but he alone gained. 500 billion, that's really impressive. This is serious. Some foreigner from the boondocks took a ton of American money. But everything is within the law. They cannot hold him accountable for money earned through honest investments. But he now has so much money that he can shake the economy of an entire country. And the problem is that such a person is not a US citizen. Then they will make him a citizen. Wall Street investors are outraged, demanding a plan to repair losses in Hong Kong and the stock market. Kim had no idea that the huge profits earned on Wall Street would trigger the crisis that would soon engulf Korea. Patriotic Party candidate Chung Chung-yun arrived on a visit. Lester asks about his election campaign. Everything is great. He helped Chun form a party and run for president. Although Chung has not yet defeated the Conservative Party, he is definitely leading the election. The secretary announces the arrival of Conservative Party candidate Sam Daegu. He is the candidate of the ruling party, but the president does not support him. But Chung and his new party's ratings haven't increased yet. If they continue to butt heads, the Progressive Party candidate will win, and a change of government is an indelible stain on the reputation. Let Sam remain the only candidate. But he and his party have only just begun their campaign, so he dares to contradict Lester. This is a terrible mistake. The future president should not be at people's feet. It was Lester who divided their party, and now he is ordering them to unite again. Sam will win this election and hand over the next term to Chen, but Lester needs to do a couple of favors. However, defeating the Progressive Party is not so easy. They themselves know that the economy is falling apart. If Chen becomes president, let him order a large amount of dollars to be borrowed from Japan. Then he will be recognized as the savior of the country's economy. Foreign currency reserves are melting away at lightning speed. Wall Street is rapidly withdrawing assets from Korea. The economy is collapsing too quickly. The government insisted it wouldn't come to the IMF, but when dollar reserves fell to 2 billion, they had no choice. The US and the IMF put forward the appropriate conditions, opening the market, allowing foreign investors, reducing tariffs, restricting large companies, and so on. The IMF insisted that future presidents also fulfill these conditions. But then the unexpected happened. Chen Chang-gyun united with the Conservative Party. Just recently, they were openly confronting each other. Sam Daegu will not forget the sacrifices of candidate Chen Chang-geun, who promises to restore the country's economy. If he is elected president, he will borrow a large supply of dollars from Japan. Surely the Azure Wind community had a hand in this. In his previous life, Kim Hak-won narrowly won with 500,000 votes. But under the current circumstances, his victory can no longer be guaranteed. If Sam Daegu wins the election, the Azure Wind community will become even more influential. Since they are so eager to change the president, Kim will use all his means to stop them. Korea's entire prestige was destroyed in an instant by its appeal to the IMF for help, and the country's credit rating was brought down to that of countries in Africa and South America. The IMF's managing director must ensure that Korea fulfills its part of the bargain. This country has long denied the crisis that was unfolding right under its nose. Failed conglomerates and banks need to be rebuilt and their banking assets sold to foreign investors. This is no longer a joke. Asking for financial aid is like giving up Korea entirely. Chester should return to Korea as soon as possible. They need to discuss something. Kim would like to give him the biggest comeback possible. Reporters besiege me as I leave Chester Airport. He hasn't yet recovered from the flight. He promises to hold a press conference a little later. Korea's economic sovereignty has been left at the mercy of the IMF, and perhaps Chester, as a Korean citizen, has something to say to the people. In 3 years, their country will rise again. Chester believes in the strength and potential of his nation. The IMF conditions may seem harsh, but the market opening had to happen. The country cannot grow in isolation from the rest of the world. It is time for the Korean government and its people to stand up and respond. Some people ask Chester to go with them. They are from the Blue House. The president wishes to see him. He was not told anything about this, and he has another appointment. Chester is captured. They are told to stop. They are responsible for James Conn's safety. No one has the right to grab a US citizen and force him to go somewhere. If they continue to persist, it will result in a global scandal. His name is Eric Clark. He runs Charlie Kim's PMC. Chester must still be in shock. Kim only leaked a little information, pretending to talk on the phone, and these reporters completely lost their minds. They need to use the money from their New York company to flood the Korean stock market. For now, all investments must be public and as transparent as possible. Ava Ju, Kim's new executor, will be in charge of the fictitious companies dealing with buying and selling. There is no connection between her and Chester. No one would suspect that they are working together. Ava doesn't even know that Kim is the real owner of Dream High. The government won't let go. It will ask for favors. Chester's job is to maintain contact and invest. So the real game is just beginning. Someone calls Kim and calls him Charlie Kim. This is Michael Kamdesis, managing director of the IMF. He wants to meet and talk face to face. Kim knew that getting to him would be a piece of cake for the US government. It's time to meet face to face. Michael Kamdesis, nice to finally meet you. This is what he is like. The commander of the US forces called upon to subjugate Korea. This is a letter written personally by the president. This can wait. Michael should immediately explain why he needs this meeting. First, he will deliver a message from the US government. Kim should not try to help Korea with the exchange rate crisis under any circumstances. If he does this, all responsibility will fall on him.